Hello, everyone. It's VEX Warfield, and kind of going off on the spur of the moment here. Hey, Rebel, welcome. Um, well, as you can tell, it's short notice, and I'm throwing this together, so I don't really, hey, Ray, I don't really have anything specific planned. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing links. Watch your language, Ray. All right, there it is. Link away. All right. Yeah, one thing bugged me about Chase's program is he did do an awful lot in the way of propaganda tonight. um, yeah, reading from the sources that lie. I mean, he's throwing up numbers and stuff. I typed it in the chat also. He's throwing up numbers that basically are meaningless. I mean, you got to expect them to be lies. If you believe, everything that's being put out, then you're just a little gullible. But nobody biting on the hook? All right. So I'm going to have to babble. Great. Let's see. Yeah, as far as the hunger goes that he was talking about, that's tragic and all, but yeah, I still wouldn't believe those numbers either. They're being given to us by who exactly? Yahoo? I mean, I can't actually remember the exact page that he was on, but it it's not. It's just we're getting numbers from like what, the UN or something. I mean, what? How are we supposed to believe them? I mean, if it is. I don't know. I treat them basically about the same as the poll. So basically, all I heard part of Chase's broadcast when he was talking about that was just blah, because it didn't really. I couldn't allow it to register in my brain that it meant something. I couldn't, because I just couldn't. It would be bad to accept things at face value. And he's talking about everybody's dying over there. Well, they're freaking drama queens in the first place. I mean, geez, come on. Hey, what's up, Killer? Welcome to the group. Yeah. The fact that he had so many stories today. All right, Ray, drive safe. But he kept on throwing that, that these kids are dying. These kids are dying. I mean, I was waiting for what was that fat lady who was probably walking around eating donuts, in front of all the starving kids. Oh, Rebel's here. What up, Rebel?
What's up?
Rain?
Yeah, it just started too. I was like, son of a bitch.
Perfect timing. Yeah,
But
I wasn't really enjoying Troy. Damn, I can't speak all of a sudden. Chase's little rendition of the starving kids.
the song he did at the end, yeah, that's not my style.
And I just see the picture there and I instantly tune out just because, I mean, that's propaganda just on its face. Oh, these kids are dying. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you let dictators run places and bad people like the globalists run shit. I mean, to hell, just look at California, driving that straight into the ground. I mean, I respect the fact that Chase usually does that stuff and has a point to bring it all around and stuff like that. But I guess I kind of went glazed over for a while there. I might have missed it.
Yeah, I didn't really hear too much of the full circle, like pulling it back and making a better point. It kind of just seemed like, I don't know, I saw this, and I saw this, and I saw this, and they're all saying hunger, 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 hunger.
Right.
I'm like, everybody's been hungry for fucking decades over there in half of those countries, anyways.
Yeah, I know. I mean, don't we have our own hunger issues to worry about? I mean, he's pointing it out over there, I'm guessing, to try and point it out here. But if we start going hungry, they're dead. Because they got even less than us.
Yeah, we send them rice and beans half the time, and if, like Pastor Sam was saying, if the rice and or the corn and bean crops in Mexico are going down, then I'm sure the rice fields are going to go down too. So those are like three main staples for starving people worldwide. So that's going to pretty much damper a lot of people's hopes if they can't be getting any of those three staples. They can't really live off of, pure wheat, because that's very non-nutritious.
Yeah.
Rice isn't very nutritious either, but I mean, it's still.
That's what I was just thinking. Hey, Fedor, welcome. I hope I'm pronouncing that somewhere near what it is.
I think it's Fedor.
Fedor. I'm not even going to attempt to butcher the last name.
I forgot what it was. I can't. I might be able to see it in here. Nope. I just see private chat.
It's like I gotta try it now. Shinkarenko? Shinkarenko? I'm probably not saying it with the right inflection or anything, but it looks like he's got, Russian writing. So if I think I can curse in a Russian in Russian in a phrase, I guess. It's a bad one from what I hear, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. It's
Are you gonna say it or what?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to keep from smiling so I can actually say it. It's a Drakatipia Tiraksuka. And those of you who can understand that, I'm not saying it to you, I'm just saying it out loud.
Yeah,
but the meaning is supposed to be fuck you, you stupid bitch, or something like that. Oh, he says, do not say please. Okay. Did it make sense, or did I screw it up? Because if I screw it up, I'm definitely not going to say it, because I don't want to say it screwed up. From what I understand, Durakasuka is a stupid bitch. But I could be wrong. They could have been messing with me.
You're really saying, I want soup, please.
Yeah. Please tattoo fish. Yeah, I have no idea. They were laughing when I was trying to recite it, so it could be just an entire hoax, and I could be asking for flowers or something. Or yes, it did awful sense. I'm gonna say I said it badly. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that.
I can say suck my dick in Vietnamese, and that's bok Bocatao.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Didn't know that's
Yeah.
what it meant.
Yeah.
I heard it from across the room.
But yeah, I said it at a work party one time, and I worked with 3 Vietnamese guys, and then there was like 2 younger ones, and they were the nephews of the uncle who worked there, and he got them the job. And I said it at the work party one time, and then their uncle got pissed, and he was going to beat up his nephews. Like, you can't teach him that shit. That's how I know I said it good.
When I was working with these 3 Russian guys, actually there was like 7 or 8 of them, but I worked with 3 or 4 of them at a time. Yeah, other people have agendas on their shows for the most part. I'm more or less free flowing here. I kind of like to talk about whatever everybody wants to talk about, that type of thing. Hey, Sean, how you doing, brother?
It's the shoot the shit show.
Yeah, shoot the shit. Every once in a while, I get on something specific and hold to it. Generally, I want to talk about General Assemblies and basically political stuff. We try and dive deep into different things and share information on the usual. Ricky usually runs the show. Four Corners damn, fucked it up. Four Corners Report. And
Four Corners Network.
He usually runs the show right after Chase. He said he's got to get up early, so he's not going to run his show tonight. So I thought I'd come in here and, give an opportunity for people to come in, gather, and chat. I'm not your usual host. I'm usually like the sidekick.
I've been the sidekick lately because you've been AFK.
Well, to be fair, May 3rd was my birthday, so I wasn't going to come online anyway.
Well, happy birthday.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that kind of just prolonged it, that whole thing. I was just like, I'm not going to get online because then I'll end up arguing. I don't want to argue.
I saw on that Hornet, the murder Hornet topic, I saw that there's a special species of the Japanese honeybees, and they've discovered a way to kill the Hornet. And what they've done is they wait until the Hornet basically attacks one of the bees, pretty much, from the video I saw. And before the Hornet can secrete pheromones to attract the rest of the hive to attack the bee colony, they surround the Hornet, and they basically create a bodily oven around the Hornet, and they burn the Hornet inside out with overall body temperature, and they vibrate and spot. And the difference in body temperature thresholds is only 3 degrees Fahrenheit. So the Hornet can only survive up to temperatures of 115 degrees, while the honeybees, Japanese honeybees, can survive up to 118. So they go until they're pretty much like, I can't go anymore, and then the Hornet dies.
Yeah, I watched a video, I think it was earlier today, about the Hornet. This guy basically had one of them, and I guess I don't watch this guy much, but I think he's the guy I'm thinking of that basically goes around and gets stung by a bunch of stuff and then describes how it feels and stuff like that. But he got stung by it, and he said one of the first things that hits is like a wave of going off balance and basically a lightheadedness type of thing. And then it goes into he said that he got stung in the arm, in the forearm area, kind of in the middle. And he said it locked up his arm, so he couldn't move it. Any type of movement in his arm would send severe pain. And man, he was doing his damnedest not to just constantly scream, because he said it was hurting that bad. And he was trying to really breathe and shit like that. You can tell when something really hurts. And
Like
yeah,
when Peter, like when
he,
Peter falls and he's like,
yeah, exactly. Hey Nate, what's up? Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you could tell this dude wasn't fucking around. He was very, very unhappy that he did that in the first place. Man, that thing was huge though too. And I was thinking the whole thing, as far as killing him, would be a nice fucking flamethrower.
yeah, I mean, I don't see why not, especially if they die at 115 degrees. So, I mean, that's useful information right there, too.
These guys are talking about weird shit here. Or a combination of weird shit. What we got going on here? Somebody's talking about World War III and World War IV. World War III is the information war, which we're kind of losing because nobody does a damn thing about the Smith-Mundt Act. And because, if everybody knew about shit, then we'd be halfway out of this. But it seems like any televised media, radio, anything like that is either playing us or playing against us. And I would put that towards anyone you pay attention to online, any of them. Anybody that's actually making a little bit of money, you can pretty much guarantee they're full of it. Well, I guess full of it's kind of harsh. They're just restrictive. Because quite frankly, like I said before, if Alex Jones was really in it, to win it, he'd be talking about two things. We the people in assembly and the Smith-Mundt Act. He'd be screaming it from the rooftops. All of them would be. And they know about it. Hell, what is it? Mark Levin's a fucking constitutional fucking scholar. He doesn't say a fucking word about it. You can pretty much bet on every fucking Fox News, Fox Radio, fucking Fox Radio. Hey, Panther. Hey, Fox Radio is full of shit. It's a fucking demonic party radio. I hear nothing but people from the Democratic side or fucking libtards or anything like that. They always play them. I never hear fucking Trump on there. I never hear Rand or Ron Paul or anything like that on there. No. And anybody who, even though I disagree with some of the shit he does, Savage, he got shut down for speaking out.
Yeah.
And yet I never heard him say anything about that. Granted, he's not, that type of guy. He's a scientist and stuff like that, but he's plugged in to a certain extent. And we got Sean Stryker from Riverside.
Well, if you remember, Michael Savage had the Paul Revere club, and now that I know about the General Assembly, I'd wonder if the Paul Revere club was actually a General Assembly style club that got shut down. I don't remember why it got shut down, but he was saying it got shut down and he couldn't keep it going anymore.
May I butt in here for a minute, guys? I posted in the chat last night where I wasn't able to chat too much. Like The Rock says, you got to know your role. If you've listened to Alex Jones, he has explained that he is captured in their matrix now because they stuck Sandy Hook on him. If he brings the Sandy Hook negativity towards the National Assembly to people who don't know, it's going to hurt that movement. He has a lot of fillers backstage doing a lot of different things, but he's screwed because it's a branding thing. I know you're not a fan of Q, and I'm skeptical because he targeted Edward Snowden, so I'm not a fan of that. But Q was like a rebranding of the truth movement, if you think about it, in the Liberty Ron Paul movement. So that was good. It got people to start questioning some things. Unfortunately, they put their hopes on it, just like they put the hopes on the Pope that Chase and you guys were talking about earlier. You can't put faith in any man or any movement. You got to only put faith in yourself, whatever you worship, and your effort. You'll know at the end of the day when you look in the mirror if you made an effort to change things or not. That's at the micro level. National Assembly is in between that macro and micro level. That's what we got to push for. But if we bring people who want to, goof around, waste time, use circular conversations, or I'm not saying we got to dress up in suits here, guys, but what I am saying is, someone like an Alex Jones, because he has a bunch of verbal gaffes, like anyone else will if you've been on radio that long, he probably would love to help it, but I think he knows he'll bring the wrong type of energy to it, because all the haters, all the trolls will start popping up versus people who actually want to get things done. If you look at Infocoms that we were all kind of familiar with, Infocoms got raided by a lot of trolls, and it overwhelmed Owen. Owen just quit dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So Owen didn't realize what he signed up for, refereeing thousands of threads and conversations. That's the thing. When you're in an army without an army structure, without the power to actually put people in the brig for defying a lawful order or an unlawful order, you can't tell people to behave on a message board. You can't tell people to behave in the comments, because the trolls will find their way in. Something like the National Assembly, we don't want trolls in that, because they could portray us. I've been sending out the Andrew Breitbart war speech, the little 24-second soundbite that's on YouTube, because at the end of the day, these people are going to portray us as the next Timothy McVeigh, and as racist. So F them. We're at war, and our weapon of war is the National Assembly. But that means we don't recruit soldiers that are flakes. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you make sense.
Alex,
and honestly, I want to say thank you for that, because I didn't actually think about it that way.
Yeah, InfoWars. Remember, they're known for their little square logo, but when they finally made the InfoWars Army shirt, the green little skivvy shirt that I have, it's a hexagon logo with an IW. Yep. No one sees me and knows what that is unless they've been following since Owen came up with that design. Everyone still remembers the block letters InfoWars on the black background. That's what. So you see, it's branding. It's like Coke and Pepsi, and here we are. We're trying to launch 7-Up, and we got to be sure that it's our little baby, as we nurture and grow it, that we don't bring people who next week they get in a road rage incident and the media portrays them as the freeway terrorist, or the guy who ran from the cops and was screaming about his constitutional rights. Having a level head and dealing with this stuff, it's cool. We've had that discussion about, hey, you don't want to be gung-ho and be there's a time to be Rambo. We're not there yet. Personally, emotionally, I wouldn't mind kicking Bill Gates. I wouldn't mind 5 minutes alone with him, as the Pantera song says. But I'm probably not going to get 5 minutes alone with Bill Gates. So why don't I channel that anger into productivity? So today I made copies of the Patriot Report. So we bring attention to Chase, because Chase is like our. I don't know if you guys can see this for this messed up camera angle of mine. My camera angle's not even. There we go. Huh. Well, I don't know. My camera phone's wacky. So's my phone. But anyway, I'm waving around a few. Yeah, I'm waving around the copies of the Chase's Patriot Report, Volume 4 here. I just went to the UPS store, made a few printouts of those, and people I'll have a one-on-one conversation with on the way home from work. You hand them a copy. 10 copies. Again, I'm just thinking like advertising numbers. I might get 2 out of 10 people to actually read it. The other 8 might wind up in the trash. That's fine. The 2 out of 10, you do that enough. Eventually, say I hit 100, I'm going to get about 3 to 4 people actually to come to the channel, and probably 1 out of those 4 will be our next person. This is a lot like if you've ever heard of multi-level marketing, or conversely, the enemy of that, the pyramid scheme companies. Patriot movements, just like the military, it's by the numbers. You grow a base of people and you train them to grow a base. Miyamoto Musashi has talked about that. Sun Tzu has talked about that. And then business people applied that, of course, to grow if they're into groups that need to recruit trainees, or if they're into groups that need to have a sales floor manager at Circuit City or Best Buy, train people how to sell electronics so they want their commission. You got to have that mindset. The commission for all of us is liberty, getting our rights back. So this is the other thing. A lot of people, they want to do something to make a little money on the side with it. And then into making money, if that becomes their overriding goal, like you said, we got to be a little skeptical if they start making money ahead of everything else. Alex is losing money if you've been following his finances. So he's not making money on this. The dude just mortgaged his house. So next thing to go is probably going to be his Dodge Hellcat, if I know Alex Jones. And I've listened to him since 1996, 97-ish. Next thing after that, he might give up one of his Barrett 50 cals. He still has a couple of those. Those are worth 40 grand and up. But, that's the thing is InfoWars, because it's the lawfare of the Democrats. They realize that they don't have the moral high ground, but they sure as heck can take you to court over and over and over. Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson made careers off of that.
Right.
So that's what they've been doing is the way the courts work, because we know our country is a corporation, is that the corporation wants to do what's best for its bottom line. Well, if two lawyers are showing up in court, they both have to, the court has what are called court expenses. It's how they make their money, to pay the bailiff, to pay the stenographer, to pay the judge for sitting there, to pay everyone else involved. The sheriff's on the outside, keep it secure, to pay the light bill. Well, that's the court fees, the court costs. When you hear about someone's legal fees, if you lose the case, you're getting charged all that. So you could lose because of a corrupt judge, and now you got to worry about paying that. And if you appeal it and you lose that appeal, you got to worry about paying that too. And it begins to snowball. So like in the case of Roger Stone, he used to have a home, he used to have a fund for his grandkids set up. And in his battle in this InfoWar, now he's got an apartment. And, like him and his wife, they were moving their furniture because they had to move to the apartment, and she broke her ankle. And, unless you're on Roger Stone's mailing list, you're not going to hear about that because he didn't go with that gag order. He couldn't go cry to the media for help. But his wife broke her ankle on a move that they shouldn't, because they were set up and framed up, they shouldn't even had to be doing that move, I got to let you guys go. I got someone at my gate here at the post, but I'll jump back in later. I just hope that insight helps you guys out kind of from a big picture, above the battlefield perspective.
Oh, yeah. Definitely added some extra in for me.
All right, be right back. I got to mute myself.
All right.
Nope, no problem.
I don't remember if I said, but hey, Jay, welcome. Hey, Panther. Yeah, I'll check you on Discord as soon as I'm done. Damn, I was going to say something else, and I don't remember now. I blame it on Ray. Let's see. We got... what's up?
I have no idea how to remind you because I don't know what you were going to try and remember. I'm usually pretty good at reminding people.
Yeah, it was something to do with Alex Jones. Oh, that's what it was. I went on. I went on. Hey, well done, Rebel. Well done. But I went on the site and went to the store, and I couldn't find any silver. No colloidal silver. Wonder if anybody had anything on that.
I think just another channel. Brandon was talking about it Monday during one of the rallies. I think the CDC rally, or maybe at he went to 3 different places. One of those 3 places he was talking about it. Yeah, and he was saying that the FDA is going on him because he's selling silver products. So I don't know if the FDA is trying to regulate the colloidal silver products now, or
I don't know. I guess so.
I'm back
if they're just trying to, more of their lawsuit things to pull money from them.
What's up, Sean?
I'm back in the mix, and it's a mix of both of those. The FDA, I used to work at Rite Aid, doing, I was GNC clerk certified besides being the night supervisor and stuff. That's why I have the whole supplements, and it helped augment my wrestling. I could be the dude that, because I'm taking creatine, I'm not sore after the match, and I could get booked the next day, because I'm not in bed complaining about my aching back.
Right.
Let me throw this at you. Colloidal silver, Rite Aid sells it. Whole Foods sells it. Walgreens sells it. But because Alex has that spotlight on him, they go after him and say he's the bad guy. Because once you kick the hornet's nest, and this National Assembly stuff we're going to do, we're going to be kicking the hornet's nest, guys. That's what you got to be ready for. These are going to be like Asian giant hornets. These ain't going to be no little Vespid wasps here.
Flamethrower.
Let me put it, when we hit the National Assembly, that's going to scorch earth a lot of people politically, and that's good. We want those people out. And the ones who are patriots, they'll be like, hey, we're going to help you from the corporate side. The Rand Paul guys and the Ron Pauls, they'll help out. They all have been pointing people towards this. It's up to the people taking the initiative and go to it, because it's like even they don't know. We're all still in a learning process, and we're lucky we have, like Destry, just judging by his voice and his mannerisms, he strikes me as someone who is probably in the age generation of the church elders that I was listening to when I was younger, and the people who taught them. We're talking like maybe the John Birch Society 1.0, baby boomers and World War II generation. That's who was, my mentors and stuff. We look at the colloidal silver. I used to use that when I could get it from Alex's show whenever I was getting sniffles coming on or a cold. And, it's a wonderful supplement. I'm not going to say it's magic because I do a lot of things right. I'm always drinking orange juice as my go-to fruit juice, because of the high vitamin C content. But, sometimes your body just can't, make it over that hump. You might be getting a fever or something. The colloidal silver is one way to get a hump, or over the hump, excuse me. You just don't want to do it so much because your body eventually absorbs it. And there are people they have bluish tints to their noses and other parts of their anatomy because it stays into the skin. But that's where the whole how many parts per million do you have? Now, this is the close of the rant. I know in Reno, where they used to mine silver, and other parts of our country, they've shut down, but not just coal power plants, they've shut down our gold mines, our silver mines, our aluminum mines, and steel and lead. Anything that was used in our factories and productions and precious metals, a lot of our mines are shut down. President's trying to bring them back, but a lot of those mines got bought by foreign interests. They don't want to open them up. That's why that other night when the power grid was protected by the president, that's okay, we're on the ball to opening back up. I like that.
Yeah.
This issue may be that the colloidal silver is also being outsourced. Maybe the FDA doesn't want to let it in anymore, or it's a way to limit the supply and basically screw over the health and fitness and nutrition industries that like colloidal silver.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad I'm teaching myself how to make it out of silver.
Yeah, I heard there is a way you can distill it and break it down at home. So that's something I'm going to have to learn how to do over time. I used to think, as a kid, a silver dollar was all silver. It's like, nope, not anymore.
Nope. Nope.
It's just a nice little silver coating and the rest is nickel or whatever.
Yeah, I go for the little silver ingots.
Oh, yeah.
I buy them in pawn shops.
That's one way again where you can get the little bars. I guess there's a certain limit on how big the bars are we're allowed to buy as private citizens now. And that is thanks to everyone's hero, FDR. If you look into FDR, the history books in school taught you he was the bee's knees and Truman was this awesome guy. And then you go down the rabbit hole. It's wait, Truman started the CIA and even he hates what they become. And I'm like, well, what was the OSS under FDR? What were they doing? And I've looked into that. And that's where Bill Gates' dad comes into play and all these eugenics. And this is the sick part. There is a race angle to World War II. We're all lovey-dovey with the Germans. It's when their buddies, the Japanese, Pearl Harbored us. Getty, John Paul Getty of the Getty Museum, he completely flipped from being a Germany sympathizer to all of a sudden, I'm going to make the USO because of Pearl Harbor and we're going to entertain the troops. And it's like, bro, you were just supporting these guys less than a month ago. We know about your artwork. You're a real sick mofo. His excuse was, well, we're fighting the Japanese over there. You see, for them, it was okay. If you remember the old Warner Brothers cartoons, they dehumanized the Japanese characters as much as they did the German characters. But if you notice, a lot of times it was the Japanese characters that were made to look stupid and slimy in those cartoons. And that was part of propaganda back then. So there was an actual racial element to why Americans, they didn't want to fight the Germans because the Pennsylvania Dutch and a lot of other families, on the East Coast, they could trace their lineage to Germany. But the second the Japanese came in, after we kind of let our guard down at Pearl Harbor, which is another Roosevelt issue, we kind of knew they were going to hit us either in Alaska or Pearl Harbor, but we put nobody on alert. So
we knew exactly we were going to get hit.
Yeah, there was even a notice. I forget who it was. Somebody sent him one of his generals or whatever sent a notice saying, "Hey, they're on their way to Pearl Harbor. We need to, tell the Marines and sailors to be ready." Because if we had our anti-aircraft guns pointing and the ships were, pulled out of the bay, it wouldn't have been like shooting ducks in a barrel. It would have been an actual battle like Midway, that sort of thing. So,
man, you know what?
Yeah, FDR. That's it always seems to come back to World War II, and then you find out before World War II, it all goes back to the Federal Reserve and the Rothschilds and the banking combines. So that's history in a bucket for you. World War II and everything before World War II.
See, Ray should be teasing you about being CIA.
I was approached by Marine Intelligence in boot camp. Does that count?
See, there you go.
Now you want to know how intelligence Remember, Marines are sharp, and we got the best looking uniforms, and we're locked and cocked and by the numbers and perfect, and all the hype.
Yep.
They approached me to be me. We had 70 guys in our boot camp platoon, and platoon 1117. Still got it memorized to this day. See how Alex talks about you say a number real quick, you memorize it. There you go.
Yep.
Anyway, the guys were training. It's in second phase. We're supposed to be training at the range. They pull me and it was 12 other. No, I would have been the 12th. So 12 of us recruits are pulled off to the side out of the platoon to go take these intel classes where they're testing us and everything. I guess they wanted me to be a guy who would operate radar systems and analyze that. And we're doing all this testing. The end of the week of the testing, they're like, wait, you guys are reservists. As a reservist, you can't change your contract because a reserve unit needs a specific amount of people to fill in that spot. So with that said, Marine Intel was not smart enough to read our contracts first to see if they could even take our time away from the platoon. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Military intelligence is not intelligent. Doesn't matter what branch it is. That's the running joke, is that if they had looked at our contracts first, they would have been like, hey, we can't change our MOSs, so we're wasting our time. Let's go to someone who signed up with an open contract and not as a reservist. Had they done that to like the guys who were going to go out of boot camp as active duty, there they go. But here's the other joke. It was all the reservists that they pulled to the side for intel for this testing, whereas that means everybody else who was a reservist, the regular guys who signed up to go active, they're not smart enough to make intel. So, now I will also say just attrition, because just as anything, there's going to be attrition, just like, we call ourselves Truther Movement, Liberty Movement, Patriot Movement, whatever, Info Warriors, Breitbart followers, whatever. There's always going to be attrition. My Marine boot camp, of 70 of us recruits, only 60 of us graduated. The 10 who dropped out, it was all related to shin splints or running injuries, like they hurt their ankles or knees during the running and stuff. They had to be held back to get, for fitness reasons. So with that said, imagine, you're going into whatever you're going into, and this is the Marine Corps before the Crucible, which is what they call the old Marine Corps. You're going to have 6 out of 7 guys make it. But you're losing one out of every 7. 60 out of 70 turns into 6 out of 7. So think about that loss ratio. You're going to lose 1 out of 7. That's worse than decimation the Romans would do to punish people. Yeah. Decimation is 1 out of every 10. So, yeah, I see Killer Television talking about that. Exactly. Around Franklin Roosevelt was also the era of what we call the Rockefeller Republicans, where the liberals infiltrated the Republican Party. These are also what were known later as the neocons, creating the paleoconservatives and the neoconservatives. The neocons are just the Russian Trotskyites, and this is important. We do got to know our enemies and who they are, what they are. It's called painting the target. Once you paint the target, you can then target them. Our case, we're not going to be dropping artillery on them. We're not going to be dropping rounds on them. But we at least are going to use information warfare to take their followers and convert them to our followers, or to at least minimize whatever damage they cause. So for our efforts, yes, we got to be aware of attrition. We got to be aware of how we're going to present ourselves, and we got to be aware that we need to identify our enemies. It's just we can't take them out in the battlefield style of old. That genre of warfare is long gone. I could have told you that as a communicator in the Marine Corps in the 90s, as a field wireman installing fiber optics. I'm here going from from steel and copper cable on slash wire. I'm installing slash wire. We're upgrading to fiber optic wires for our switchboards. I mean, imagine the jump. You can't do a James Bond splice on a fiber optic wire that easily. I can splice the old steel and copper cables. You got to bend them, peel back the copper ones that flex, let the steel basically you wrap them back around the steel. Anyway, I don't want to tell you guys how to splice phones. I might go to jail for that, but that was one thing for my contract. I had the lowest. It was classified clearance because we can't be in there without a staff sergeant. But that's that's the thing in communication warfare. You're taught to look forward because you have the communication tricks of the old days, like Chase, Alex, everyone talks about with emails and newsletters. We still have that, and then we have the new stuff, whether it's a live stream using fiber optics or a Wi-Fi. We also have, if you guys have heard of what are called drop boxes on the internet, you have a Dropbox account and you leave some streaming videos in there, and then anyone who gets the password comes by and they can log into that, watch that exclusive content, and without that blockchain password, they don't know what your video is about. Like we could be doing drop boxes like that to just quietly drop off messages for things that have to get done. So I'm going to have to do one of my patrols here. I'll keep you guys audio up. I got to mute myself again, though, and make my lap around this complex.
And Stryker is just a fountain of knowledge.
Well, I hope so. I've been doing and listening to this stuff how long?
Well, unfortunately, I've only been paying attention for probably about 5 years.
Well, welcome to World War IV, like I've been telling people, man.
Yeah.
The Clintons, because they were communist tools. We won World War III. The collapse of the Soviet Union. The problem is we didn't mop up with China. We had China on our side there in the early 90s, but we basically we just moved the communist elements and the power base of our black ops and everything from Soviet Russia to China. So instead of people going like the Bernie types going for vacation in the Soviet Union, now people are going for vacation in Beijing. We even have a group of capitalists in Shanghai. I'd mentioned this, that, it's like China's Communist Party. There is a much more pro-capitalist group, but they're based out of Shanghai and Beijing with the current president. He locked down on everybody. So it's going to be really hard for that nation to ever have a actual revolt where the people come out ahead. That's the one problem. China's got so many numbers that it's really, really hard to get a groundswell revolt going. We talk about 3% here of 300 million people, right? That's basically 3 million.
Not to mention
China, you got to do these numbers.
Has their people under their thumb.
Yes, there's that, and they have a tradition of being ruled by emperors and not being free. So they don't know, like when we liberate the Middle Eastern countries, they won't know how to govern themselves or how to act. So they go back to their old habits. Yeah. So it's a very messy scenario. What I would think is what we would do instead of overthrowing China would be to, they're trying to cause a civil war here. Well, let's cause a civil war there and split Shanghai away from Beijing. Hong Kong and Taiwan are pretty much aligned with us anyway. Now, mind you, I don't have the.
With that. There's one problem with that. If we ferment something in China, then they're more likely just to mow down half their population and be done with it, so they can instill the fear that they've already got.
And again, that's true. It's because, as you said, they have them under the thumb by way of military force. That right there between Tiananmen Square and the recent protests and this COVID-19 lockdown should, I hope, at least everyone who can hear this voice realizes our Second Amendment is something we can no longer let get infringed the way it has. The bump stock giveaway to the Democrats because of Vegas, that was a really bad concession, especially when we know there was deep state actors like Paddock involved at Vegas.
Yeah.
I was, I don't remember if it was you or Rebel Jack I had a email thread with, and just on a hunch, because, the COVID-19 virus, I'm trying to, do my darndest here to not have to mute myself while I talk to you guys and get ready to do my rounds here. The COVID-19 virus has two strains, right? One's S and one's L. And I'm like, oh man, these occultists, they always do stupid stuff like tell on themselves. S and L. I immediately think, John McCain savings and loan scandal. So I look into Charles Keating and all that. Oh yeah, the mall that they're in, that they ran that scandal out, they had people who did Iran-Contra working out of that mall. They actually had intel assets.
So that's a little bit of, and this is admitted to on Wikipedia. You can find this. It's not even that hard of a deep dive. So,
I never even thought of that.
We literally had Charles Keating, by way of his dirty money and stuff. It's in the same mall that they're running the early parts. This is the guy who I believe was running around Contra right before Ollie North took over. We really have a government that operates so dirty on so many levels. I mean, how do you think what do you think the black budgets go for? They don't just go for NASA technology. They go for the CIA to make their money, selling drugs across the world. And then what usually happens is one of these Latin drug dealers will say, hey, I'm getting big now. I want to do something. And the CIA is like, nope, know your role. Stay in your spot. You'll make $100 million a year. Leave it alone. And if your name is, Pablo Escobar, who wanted to get into politics, if your name is El Chapo and you want to build parks for kids and all that, yeah, they come and say hello. And as Alex revealed, Chapo's number 2 guy had a CIA case file number, which means he was an asset. He was working for us.
Yep.
So now I'm going to throw this at you. You can also be an asset for the government and not know that you're an asset. You can also be what's called a good actor. There's good actors and bad actors. Right. Whether Alex Jones wants to know it or not, or admit it, when he says he's an actor, he it's tongue in cheek. He realizes he's considered an asset for the U.S. government. That he is. Right. He does say at the end of the day, he is what you call loyal opposition. He will stay loyal to the American government, but he will oppose the corruption in it.
Right.
So, that's the thing. He's not going to go and march on the Capitol with cannons and tanks and firing live rounds. He will open carry them, but he's not going to load the ammunition and pull off the first bullet.
Oh, right. Yeah, see, that's one thing I understand where he's coming from. I understand what he's doing, and I understand that on both sides, everybody's got their place. And, Alex Jones has his place. He had his we'll just call it duty, to where he basically throws out his part and tries to get, people fired up and wanting to do something. He's more or less like a cheerleader in a sorts.
There you go.
And he serves his purpose. But that's also the thing that really gets to me too, is we could use if not the what I was saying earlier about the Smith-Mundt Act and we the people in general in assembly. Now, I understand doing we the people in assembly would probably do more harm than good. But the Smith-Mundt Act would do more good than harm, reinstating it.
I'm in agreement with that. Twofold thing here. Once the people who are in power do get more power, it's really hard to convince them to get rid of it. They will construct arguments to defend that. That's again why you never give up your constitutional rights, because it keeps getting, and like Destry was talking about, that they added in the 30s the definition of firearms to arms. And then, so that meant, anything that used gunpowder is a short way to sum it up. That used to not exist. You had all arms, whether it was a cannon on a ship or a knife in your boot. Everything you were allowed to have to protect yourself. So by just calling it firearms, that just changed the spectrum of what people, and then they came up with assault weapons. So as they keep making up new definitions to take more of our rights, they get more power, we lose power. People are supposed to have the power. That's the idea. Now, in the role of Jones, something like Smith-Mundt is actually like a whole episode.
Yeah.
So I've explained this. He's an alarm clock, and we're different radio channels on the same little alarm clock set. So yeah, you wake up in the morning, he wakes you up, he tries to give you a bunch of wide tones to at least get you pointed in the right direction. It's up to each of us to be the ones that give people, if they want to listen to blues, we give them blues all day. If we want to have them listen to hip hop, we give them hip hop all day, whatever our forte is, For a long time, I've been following the Epstein case, and I've been, kind of going down that rabbit hole. Not a pleasant one, but when I write fictional stuff that I post online, I make that the villainous poetry, is everybody involved in that and the biological research that results from it. People forget that there are bodies piled somewhere, or they're liquidated, one of the two.
Right.
That right there should, make a lot of people cringe, because, if you think Soylent Green hasn't happened yet, it's happened in several. It happened in World War I. They called it black market pork or black market beef in Germany. So yeah, that grisliness, when you do that to people, metaphysically, for those who follow occult traditions, that supposedly condemns you to the underworld because you've partaken of the life of another. So there's a perverse pleasure in those who create the famine conditions that result in that. They know they're condemning all these people that they don't like anyway to a afterlife in the underworld.
Hey, Killa, they stole our rights in 1871.
Yes, sir.
The Organic Act of 1871.
Now, the trick for us is, if we're going to each think of ourselves as a channel or a frequency on that radio, just make sure you got your information on point and that you're good. I usually, when I get into these little battles with the trolls on the internet, I let them think they have the upper ground, and I basically will stretch it out to 4 days, and then a week later I hit them with a big old data dump, and I'm just like, oh, by the way, I forgot about you. Here you go. They don't like that when all of a sudden it's like bop, 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 bop. Because you don't deliver people the articles when they want them. They're not going to read them anyway. They're just there to argue. So the trick with a good data dump is you just got to kind of give it to them as a surprise when they thought they had answered or dodged around all the questions. And using questions to frame a debate is actually a good rhetorical trick. That is where you go into circular conversations. And you don't want to do that too much because it can be time consuming. So I'm going to go ahead and yield here because I got to figure out, I'm at one of the corners of my post here. I got to figure out what I'm looking at, see if there's anything I need to document.
Right on. I had to run into the other room real quick to grab my tobacco.
Sounds good. Give me a sec.
All right. Hopefully there's not too much of an echo. I have my headphones off. I'm getting ready to plug in my earbuds. Rebel Jack, you've been quiet.
Yep. I don't hear any echo.
Right on.
So you seem pretty good. I had a point earlier, but I totally forgot.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, no, don't want to go into that. Okay, now I'm drawing a blank. Damn it, Rebel Jack, man, you're contagious or something. COVID. Let's see. What we got going on in chat? He was talking about... And he's writing paragraphs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Organic Act of 1871 is something you want to look into if you're interested. Let me go ahead and grab a link on it. Actually, you could get through it by the link I gave you earlier. Yeah, let's see, I think you go into the forums.
I think it's in the handbook too somewhere.
Oh, right. You're right. U.S. Army training. That one, right?
It's probably in there too. It's in a few places on there.
I got so many of these damn things, I'm getting them mixed up.
But yeah, I was looking up the oath to send to Newsom.
Yeah.
And tried to download it, and for some reason when I downloaded it on the forum it says a PDF, but when I downloaded it, it was a .php file, and spent like half the day trying to get different programs to open it right, and it would never open. And then I was eating dinner, and I was like, how about I just change the format at the end? And voila, it fucking opened the damn thing. And then I open it, and it's already like written over, so I can't even use that one. So it's more of like a template instead of a copy and paste style thing.
Right.
So I gotta find the actual oath for California somewhere in documents, print that out, and then kind of just follow along what the one I got shows to do. But I'm working forward to that because either me or Sean is gonna put Newsom in check. I'll tell you what.
Right, the fuck on. Yeah, I was meaning to go over that earlier today, but I got sidetracked with other shit. Yeah, I'm planning to. Well, actually, what I need to do is do a little bit more research with my governor and find out exactly what the hell he's doing, because I don't know enough about him. So I'm going to be doing research on that, and then I'm going to probably go into the affidavit.
Yeah, you can still send that shit to him anyways. But to, send him stuff later on to have him change what he's doing is more of the issue. Because, I mean, I can make a list of 100 things to send to Newsom to have him change up and switch up that he's doing all, dictator style. But unless I actually get the oath verified and checked by sending it to him, then it's not going to be solid ground to work from yet.
Right. Now, for me,
I'm working on it.
Like I said, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff, so I have more to teach myself before I start just running in somewhere and going, here, read this, you're under this, and this happens, so, do it, so, because, quite frankly, I sound like a raving lunatic, and I'd want to do it right. I don't want to be a lunatic. I was waiting for,
yeah, I almost want to type.
I was waiting for Ricky to come in and go, you are a lunatic.
Is he in the thing?
Yep, there he is.
Oh, yeah.
Go figure. He must not have heard me, because he would have said something. Hey, Ricky, what's up?
Not the letter to the president. The oath of office for the governor is what I'm talking about, Ricky. Newsom literally said today, we're not going to be returning to normal until vaccinated or something similar. Yeah. And he also is trying to, or did, ban vitamin D, I believe, supplements, because, I mean, you can, but I don't think he's going to right away ban sunlight and milk, so.
They're trying to ban sunlight by geoengineering.
Yeah, I mean, roundaboutly, but not directly.
Well, that's pretty direct. Not to mention killing our plant life, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah, that's one thing that I'd love to know more about. It's geoengineering. And why everybody seems like they're just like, what? What's that? I don't understand what you're talking about. Duh. Instead of, oh, the planes that leave, striped clouds. Yeah.
Yeah, there's many forms of geoengineering. That's just one of the ones that they do blatantly in front of you because
I know, and everybody ignores it. I mean, as
I
far
mean,
as
if
like
you
our
think there's
official,
geoengineering,
it's just,
what?
well, I was saying, as far as our, general leaders and stuff like that, everybody's like, I don't know what you're talking about. The line's up there, right there. You can see them. They're crisscrossing. See, that's a contrail, condensation.
Yeah,
Con. Over there, it's coming out of the plane. It evaporates after a few seconds.
I've
That's
seen many.
been there for 4 hours.
Yeah, I've seen pilots try and say it's fuel, extra fuel coming out of the jets, and it's crystallized in ice form in the
Oh, yeah.
atmosphere. I'm like, well, then why do other ones move around and those don't move? Because if they're all at similar altitudes, they should all kind of be moving in a similar wave formation together in the air. But these ones are not, which means there's something other than just ice crystal formulations in the air of fuel crystals.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Crystals.
I was following this one guy,
Fuel.
and he's kind of like the Heidi channel, but not really, because he does more, pretty much only little short rally streams of like 30 to a couple minute longs.
Yeah.
And he one day was going off and doing recordings of the geoengineering, and then all these pilots got in there talking about like, dude, I liked you better when you were just doing the rally stuff. Why you gotta be going on all this conspiracy theory stuff about chemtrails? I'm like, dude, there's all kinds of different, you know, chemtrails in air. Some of them are aluminum, some of them are fucking chemicals, some of them are mixtured compounds and all kinds of different shit. And you're trying to just say all of them are uh, iced up fucking fuel crystals. They're not all
That shit's
fuel
legit,
crystals.
man. That shit's legit.
Yeah. And I'm like, you had all these followers, and as soon as he started posting that shit, he got all, rampaged on. I'm like, you guys are fucking crazy. You call us crazy because we're paying more attention than you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that aspect of it where people are always looking down at their phones and they can't take the second to look up in the sky.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's on a high horse, and nobody owns a horse no more.
They just identify as one. Well, more like the horse's ass.
Yeah. I'm as high as giraffe nuts.
That's something I haven't heard since grade school.
I saw it a while ago. And I was like, yeah.
Giraffe nuts.
You ever go out to dinner and see a whole family of people silent, just looking down at their phones? A rewired society. Yeah. I usually
Yeah.
don't look at my phone much. It's usually always on because there's a video game playing, but I don't usually look at it too much. I just make
Yeah.
sure my character's not dead, just sitting there.
It's the important things.
Yeah.
Man, my roommate's constantly on his phone. And he's, kind of clued in on everything. But he's just constantly buried in his phone. I'm like, that's turning you into a zombie, right? And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm not on it that much. I'm like, yes, you are. I never see you without you looking at that screen.
Well, I got 3 screens going right now because I got my game playing. I'm on StreamYards on one device, and then I got the chat going on the third device, so
Oddly
I'm
enough,
pretty tapped in.
I'm looking down and getting ready to roll a cigarette. Because I'm out of cigarettes.
Yeah, that happens.
I forgot to pick some up. I worked tonight and forgot to stop by early enough to grab me some cigarettes. Oh well, I need to quit anyway.
Do you roll them with filters or do you just roll them regular?
Yeah, I don't like it being non-filtered. It's either that or I'll throw it in a pipe.
Yeah, it's hard to get a good pipe though.
I found a pretty decent one. I used to use my grandpa's old pipe at first. He actually smoked pipe tobacco, but I transferred it over to regular tobacco. And I also made a stem for it where I could put a filter in there if I wanted.
We can always just put a couple paper towels over the mouthpiece.
I actually bought some filters so that I can roll them with the filters and stuff. So I take that and basically I fixed a new mouthpiece onto it and put a filter inside there to where I could change it out. It actually works pretty damn well. It's all airtight. Works great.
You're like the tobacco smoking MacGyver over there.
Oh, you should see what I do with pot.
Yeah, as long as you don't put it in aluminum foil, you'll be okay.
Yeah. No, I think I'd drill out an apple or go chop down a branch and drill it out first.
Yeah.
I have been known to make bowls on the fly. It's amazing what you can actually use.
Pretty much everything but aluminum. Plastic sucks half the time.
Yeah. We tried that once, but we could only use it one hitter style, just so it wouldn't cook it and melt it.
Yeah. At one point, me and my friend, we took it was like a super small socket, and then we put it on a pin, and then put that into a bottle, and then made a bong out of it. So the socket was the bowl, and then the pin was the down tube. Oh yeah, that's high school days.
Oh yeah. Tire pressure checker.
Oh man, I saw a meme or whatever, and it was like, my mom found a pipe in my car, and I told her we needed to talk, and it's like a picture of a tire pressure gauge.
Yeah. See, my mom was cooler than that. She asked me, "Are you smoking pot?" And I went, "Yeah, you want some?" And you would have laughed at that if you'd have known my mom, because my mom was one of those goody two shoes type of women. Oh my gosh.
No, my mom was like, here's some weed. Are you out of cigarettes? Here you go.
Not my mom. She would have freaked out about it, and then I would basically explain to her, "Look, this is what it's doing. Do you notice, like yesterday when I was around you, I was very nice and all that stuff. I said, I was blown out of my mind. I was so high, I'm surprised you didn't see fucking red, just pouring out of my eyes." And she goes, "No, you weren't. You were so nice." And I was like, "Yeah."
Don't you remember I ate all my dinner? I don't normally like broccoli.
Anything with cheese. Oh.
I never used no Visine or Clear Eyes or none of that. My eyes are always standard redness. They don't get super red. They don't get any less red. And I always got that Western squint to my eyes, so I always look the same. Unless I'm totally blown.
Yeah, usually you can't tell on me unless you get in real close and you can see a little bit of redness. But otherwise, no, I got promoted more Well, I got promoted every time when I was stoned out of my mind. And I did a lot of customer service, so.
May I interject with, I'm going to be going back about 5 minutes. I was just busy at the time. The geoengineering, you guys are right. There are multiple types, from them doing algae blooms to all other kinds of stupid experiments on our atmosphere. The problem with the pilots is they're compartmentalized like anyone else, and the jets are on autopilot. So a lot of times these guys may not even know that the jet they're flying is doing what it's doing. So there's that to consider. And also, for those who've gone and try to be whistleblowers, the FAA will take their pilot's license from them. So they get in that situation where they don't want to whistleblow, just like anyone in the medical field that tries to whistleblow about the malpractice of the medical industry. So, that's the way a lot of these businesses ensure that people toe the line, as they essentially say, hey, we'll cut off all your earnings, and because you signed an NDA when you signed up, we're also going to sue you. So the pilots are one of those groups of people in a lot of no-win situations. I'm not saying they have the hardest lifestyle, but for a good example, because they fly higher, they get exposed to higher amounts of ultraviolet light, and they get cancer because those airplanes are not shielded for being in the higher. When you're doing transcontinental flights, they're not shielded for radiation. They're not military grade craft. So there's that to think of too, The good thing with the contrails / chemtrails, whatever, is if you want to red pill someone, that's your foot in the door. You get them in on geoengineering as part of the eugenics plan, and you're good. That's an easy visual. Just have them, time the clouds with you. Okay, hey bro, look, you see that one? We'll see if it's gone in 5 minutes. You bring them at 5 minutes, it's still there. Okay, now we're going to see if it's gone in 15 minutes. Still there in 15 minutes. Now, it's this one starts feathering out. Okay, We're going to see if it's gone in 30 minutes. And then there's a whole cloud, and like, oh, look, they made a whole wispy cloud, but it's still there. Why would they make a wispy cloud? Da 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 da. There you go. Now, the other issue we also have, though, with that whole geoengineering thing, there is the goals of reducing population. This is where things kind of now can get real fun. There are those who ascribe to what's called the grand solar minimum, which will be a period of the sun basically acting up, and the earth will not have enough crops regardless, because the heat, the reactions, the light of the sun will be waning as the solar storms cycle around. They've calculated these grand solar minimums to happen, roughly around the time you have the big cataclysm and societal changes and all that. All the guys with the doomsday predictions, naturally, they have it scheduled out that it happened on, these specific events.
Right.
So let's say the sun can't get enough light to the earth that we need for our crops, so we have massive crop failures. The idea is that if the human population is thinned out at that point, then there will not be mass riots, mass cannibalism, and mass whatever. People will have been reduced to the point that they can eat what crops are available and at least make it through until the sun regenerates and its solar cycles and its solar storms again. I haven't deep dived on that, because that's one of those things where that's like, look, the sun's going to screw you one way or the other. So until we can get spaceships that, work on the sun, I'm not going to sweat the sun too much. The stuff we can do here nationally at the political level, we get a national assembly going, maybe in a few years after that, that's the debate we have. Hey, what are we going to do about a grand solar minimum? A lot of people, they hear the end time scenario, whether it's New World Order with us all plugged in, like in the Matrix, into a big computer, or we're all, chipped slaves working at factories, similar to North Korea and China, or grand solar minimum. We're all looking for food on farms that don't have food. You're worried about the end goal instead of the steps of the game, that if we start playing now and start turning the ship away, we will avoid those end goals. We'll bring it back to our field goal. We'll make the touchdown. It's kind of like the enemy got an interception, and they're running away with the interception from a couple of fumbled passes of our politicians. You get what I'm saying? And it's a football analogy. But
the one thing that I see with it is, it seems as though they don't want to have America, the United States, as anything but, it seems to me, like a nature reserve. So they have a lot of people to remove from here. That's why they moved all our industry and all our factories and stuff like that overseas, because they wanted to basically turn us into cattle so they could slaughter us and turn America into a nature reserve.
There's that element. And also, just on sheer numbers, China has 1 billion potential customers. America only has 300 million. So if they're going to go with if China's already getting a middle class and a population boom, thanks to us, being rated for all our resources there, they're like, hey, we're going to make more money in China anyway, so screw America. Haha, screw them hard. Zuckerberg's married to a Chinese lady. I mean, people forget about that. Mr. Facebook, he's married to a Chinese lady. Kissinger lives over there. These guys don't make that. You don't make a decision to learn Chinese and live in China, just on a whim. That's a big deal. Hillary has holdings over there, if I've done my research correctly. A lot of people do. And, just when I referenced Epstein earlier, when I'm tracking his stuff down, that dude had the New York penthouse. He had his place in the Caribbean, Little St. James Island, there in the Virgin Islands, ironically named. He has his Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. And then he had a place in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And the dude had like 5, when you're tracking wealth, most of us don't even have one house, or if we have a house, we got a mortgage on it. And here are the guys, like the Bernie Sanders of the world. Oh, you don't know how to suffer, and I have 3 homes because I need one for my job. Yeah, Bernie, what about the third one? Oh, I'm making a profit. Oh, you're a capitalist now. Huh? Ain't that convenient, Bernie? So, that was a terrible Bernie Sanders, but I like what he sounds like a 80s sitcom grandpa, like stuttering right before they have the heart attack,
Yeah.
So, yeah, Bernie's an easy parody to do, but Bernie's not a guy that I think is worried about where the human race is going to go into the future. Us and guys like an Alex Jones, guys like a David Knight and Owen Schroyer, we see ourselves as having, maybe not all of us, we see ourselves those having humanity going into the future, into tomorrow, not just a space race, but space colonization, but it's going to be done by people going into space of their own free will. Nobody wants to go into the vacuum of space and risk their body being atrophied and all the medical conditions if they're forced to. Nobody would sign up to be an astronaut or to be an explorer. But if you make it for profit, hey, you mine some asteroids, you go mine a planet, bring back resources, then guess what? You got people who will want up for those riches. Yeah, they'll put up with losing half their body weight as their muscles deteriorate while they're in hypersleep or whatever developments they get. So that's going to be our approach. If we get off this rock, we got to look at, is it going to be like Star Trek? Everyone's in a federation with only so many credits? Because that's not going to inspire the heroism of a James T. Kirk. I guarantee you that. It ain't going to inspire even a Picard.
Well,
by the way, that is disappointing that freaking Patrick Stewart has gone full on, freaking anti-Trump mode. But he's British. Most British don't. The British have been raised under socialism and kings. They've never really understood real freedom. We got rid of the kings, so we never had to deal with the socialism, which is just the king's cool way to get you back on the farm.
Right.
Just a different farm.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to I use that as an example. I go, you want to know what socialism is? Think about medieval times. We'll just say, over in the UK.
Sure.
I mean, you had the king and his knights and his enforcers, and then you had the peasants. Welcome to socialism. Socialism.
I'll give this one to you because we'll go one step farther. What is communism? Everyone's living on a commune, which is a group collective farm. Now, I'm going to throw some history. I don't believe Quakers, but I know several other groups came to America and tried communes. And also, I speak now from experience that I know of, the early Mormon church tried to do communal living as well. That's why they still have ZCMI and also the Deseret Industries, Bishop Storehouse.
the intention was good. Hey, we'll all live and share together, and be one with Jesus. Blah 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 blah. Everyone always wants to give you, no offense, hippie, if you're listening. Everyone wants that hippie punchline: love, peace, harmony, Jesus. Flowers and all that. Everybody wants that, but the reality is, Joe Bob wants to sleep in, and Billy Bob, he wants to get more for his work because he works harder than Joe Bob, and it just falls apart. And I followed in the 90s. There was a band called Rock Bitch, and their whole thing was absolute degeneracy. So I appreciate it for what it is degenerate performance art. This is where, but the problem is they don't go home and do a Marina Abramovich and do spirit cooking at home. It's just on stage that they do their orgies. Very entertaining band, like I said.
Yeah.
But it's if you're into, like, if you remember Iggy Pop back in the day, and classic Marilyn Manson, and stuff like that, where it's just, wow, anything can and will happen. And well, Rock Bitch, their whole deal as a band is they had a commune in France they lived in, because they're all from the United Kingdom, but they were getting heat for their outdoor concerts being too over the top. They would bring fans on stage. They had the Golden Condom Award, where they would toss condoms out in the crowd. If you had the golden one, you got to mess with a girl called Lucy the Stage Slut. What a great, you're getting paid to be a girl who a random fan gets to bang in front of a crowd. I mean, if you want, the heavy metal performance art, take it to an extreme. There you go, guys. It happened. It existed. That was the 90s. The 80s were almost as swinging, but the 90s took it to like a upper level of degeneracy. But the thing was, there was none of this cruel pedo Satanism behind it. There might have been with a few fringe acts, the black metal bands and stuff like that.
Right.
But the case of Rock Bitch, they went and they've moved to a commune. I noticed, once they all got onto the commune, like a year or two later, it came out, you get the wires from Britain and the European metal magazines. It's like, oh, gee, they broke up. Well, imagine that, There's one guy in the band, the bass player. Everybody else is a bunch of women. What would be worse than a farm with a bunch of women and one guy? Either the dude's going to do all the work. Sorry for the women listening, but the women are going to get catty. That it happens from time to time. And then everything goes south, and they'll all depart. And surprise, band breaks up. The dude who does, he also did the composition of the music. He probably was like, all right, screw it, I'll go get more chicks. But getting a group together that does all that stuff, that you can't do that. But if you guys wanted a really bizarre deep dive, there you go. That yes, there was a heavy metal band that would have orgies on stage in the United Kingdom, no less, in the 90s, and they went and had a commune in France, and it didn't work out. So communism, even in the 90s, did not work out.
It can't work out.
Yeah, it's not designed to work out. It's just designed to make one guy running the farm wealthy while everybody else thinks they're equal. And that was the bass player who ran the commune, the founder of the band. It's like, just like every other band, everything's in my name, and I own the stage equipment, the amps, the logo, You guys ever notice how many bands are out there where it's just the front man and a new lineup behind them? Manson's a good example. 9 Inch Nails is another example. You could say like Ozzy Osbourne was a really good example of that. He brought on Randy Rhoads, brought on Zakk Wylde. For Ozzy, it's like he just gets himself a really good guitar player and he's set. But other bands, it literally is they have a new roster every time they tour. So I wanted to say, too, our friend Kill Your Television gave me a little compliment about the Chinese situation. And it is true. China, we were sold out to China. Now the question is, what do we do? Chase has talked about, he buys these shoes that are made here in America. For a while, New Balance, to my knowledge, was made here in the United States. So I thought, I was getting shoes made here, and then I found out, nope, they're outsourced. So I'm looking for another tennis shoe brand to pick up as soon as I can. Bang Energy Drink, the CEO is a Trump supporter. Now, I like their brand, but made in USA from domestic, and then it says, and imported ingredients. And I'm just like, So it is really hard to search. If you read your labels, you'll be surprised how many things are, bear with me, guys. I'm going to turn off that dispatch radio. My neck of the woods, they've had people, oh boy. I could just use this dispatch radio to fill up hours of Chase's show. Yeah, Chase, we have this guy passing out in the middle of the street, and oh, by the way, 3 blocks from where I live, there was a motorcycle accident, and the dude got knocked off his motorcycle, and he's dead now. And when I went to work, the tape was still up, and the cycle's still laying. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here for that gloom and doom negativity news. We're here for the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's Florida man. Yeah. Florida man versus California man.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna throw this at you though, it's too early. The dude just died on his bike today. I don't even know who the guy is, so I'm not gonna make a joke out of it. I have gallows humor from the Marine Corps. I can joke about anything that's inappropriate, and then I was like, it's one of those things like, do you want to really kick the hornet's nest right now? Well, Stryker, You're such an a-hole, and you wonder why I'm such a good wrestling villain. It goes hand in hand. But
with my family, we've always joked around about death and stuff like that. It's a way of broaching the topic without actually getting heavy.
Yeah. But I was a big fan of Family Guy, so I always use Quagmire's lines with my friends and stuff, because wrestlers are perverts like anyone else. But, the thing is, we're not, like Jerry Lawler was alleged a long time ago. They took him off Monday Night Raw while he handled his court case. Allegedly, he was supposed to have molested like a underage girl or something. That was the accusation in Memphis. I do notice that after all that stuff got sorted out, later on, he gets married to Stacy the Cat Carter. And that marriage doesn't last long. And she's like, Stacy Carter at the time is like under 22, and Lawler's already in his 40s. So I'm just thinking to myself, this dude that left WWE, Kazarni, that's who she was cheating on Lawler with, and she left with him. There's Kazarni and Stacy Carter are still married to this day. I believe they live out in Vegas, so I run into them from time to time. And hey, whatever is their deal is their deal. But if Lawler's going for someone that much younger than him, then you look back at the lawsuit from Memphis and the court case, and you're like, well, is Lawler that creepy, or what's going on there? And then I find out today, Dynamite Kid, one of my OG trainers, Bill Anderson, was on the Hannibal TV, another YouTube channel that does exclusively wrestling. And this goes to show you how much worse things also were in the 80s. Dynamite Kid, who was known for spiking wrestlers' drinks with cocaine and stuff, like you'd be having coffee and you'd get way too hyper. Dynamite Kid had spiked one of the ring crew kids' soda with something, and it was a kid who was already kind of like a little on the slow side, but Bill had hired the kid on for the day, told his mom he'd take care of him, give him some money for the day, buy him lunch, and Bill referenced another wrestler who was helping on that ring crew that I also know, who's 5 stars and a good guy. And then you find out, wow, Dynamite Kid was such a messed up dude that the people are helping with the ring, and you got nothing better to do than to drop a drug into the kid's soda. And the reason they know it was dropped is a guy named Chief Jay Strongbow, who was like the road agent for WWE back then, was the one who was like, hey, Bill, who's been drinking the soda? Because I just saw, a Dynamite Kid had spiked it earlier. So it was like, wow, one, Strongbow waited that long to say something, but two, if that kid had died on Bill, my trainer would have been in a court case, back in the 80s. And now think about it, though. If people are spiking drugs into kids' drinks in the 80s, through the 90s, and so we're all upset about like Epstein in the headlines, or the medicinal issues with the coronavirus. They're putting, stuff in our body we don't want because they want to give us this vaccine. There's been a whole bunch of degenerates, that they think, hey, their way to get over and mess with people is to drug them, to take away their clarity, their sense of perception, to mess with their acumen, whatever their 5 senses are. They think, hey, I'm gonna play a prank on a dude. Well, the problem with the leftists, the diehard leftists, it's not a prank for them. For them, that's a tool.
Yep.
They get people. Keep in mind what has stayed open during this crisis. We're not able to get. Well,
and
they kept liquor stores,
right? And
dispensaries and Planned Parenthood. Everything for the vices. You want to mate like bunnies? Well, hey, you can get an abortion. You want to drink yourself to oblivion? Here's the keys to the liquor store, so to say. If you want to, do so much cannabis that you miss work the next day, or hey, you're not even going to go to work. You're just going to forget about job searching, period. And that's not everyone does cannabis gets that point of view. But there are a lot of people who say, when I used to do it, I lost a lot of time. It's like, yeah, bro, you did. So this is what you guys got to realize. We got a new world order, where Soros, he's messing with the cannabis industry. Anheuser-Busch, that was messed with by McCain. The Planned Parenthood, that's Bill Gates. We know the names of these guys. We know their angles. The trick is going to be getting a national assembly, and then once we've gotten this country back, we put out warrants for these guys. Like I'm already seeing Destry has kind of put a goal for us of a national assembly. I'm already seeing goals past that, because if we just have a couple of goals, we're going to stop short. Once it happens, we'll be like, okay, what do we do now?
It has to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, the problem with Americans realize their independence, and they're like, okay, we're free, and they stop working to keep themselves free. That's why we got to get ourselves free again. After the Civil War, hooray, we're unified as a country. Oh, no, we're not. You all go back to work. You think you're unified. And meanwhile, in reality, they passed, the Organic Act of 1871. That freedom went right out the window.
Yeah, I can give you a more up-to-date version. Donald Trump got elected. Half people went, all right, we're good.
Yep. And then Jesse James is telling Alex Jones, oh, it'll be okay. We can go back to sleep. Man, Jones goes off on his friends when they deserve it, but the Jesse James rant, it wasn't like even profane. It was just like you could see Jones was disappointed on him. Because at least Joe Rogan pays attention. There's one guy you think would be like, we don't have to be involved anymore. It'd be Joe Rogan,
Well, Joe Rogan knows better, and he's playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish he was more honest about it.
Yeah, he has, because YouTube. See, here's the problem: the second he does his own thing and quits playing for YouTube, that's when YouTube will pull the axe and his dominoes start falling down. So I'm guaranteeing that all of his streams are monetized. He has like 3 or 4 streams.
Oh,
And each of them are multi-million. So he doesn't want to sneeze that money away, because the Fox money won't always be there. Fox will eventually get another MMA guy to call MMA matches.
Right.
What I would like to see, this is something, again, this isn't something we can directly affect. We could maybe call in and push for it, though. Alex really should take Eddie Bravo on a flight to Antarctica. That would be, just for the footage, it would look beautiful.
Killa, welcome. Hey, Sean, I'm going to run and grab something to drink. So
sounds good. I got about 10 minutes for my next round, so.
Right, I'll be back way
should we
before
let
that.
Killer and Rebel? Yeah, give Killer and Rebel to have the floor, since I've been ranting and filling up our airtime with my opinion.
Right on. Make it happen.
All right, Killer. What's on your mind tonight?
Hold on one second. I got YouTube and StreamYard open. I'm trying to mute YouTube. Right. All right, here we go. Because I was getting an echo.
Yeah, we have that over here too for a moment.
All right, I think I'm good. Is everything good? Can you hear me?
5,
Hey,
5,
you're
5.
good.
Cool.
It appears as though everybody can hear each other. Continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What were you guys talking about?
Jeez. All kinds of stuff.
It was a lot. It was a lot of information to process.
That's why I should be on mute more often.
No, man, you were saying a lot of interesting stuff. I was trying to get my mic set up and everything, but
Yeah, that's one thing I love about Sean, man. He comes up with the shit that he has retention for that I don't. So every time Sean speaks, I learn something.
yeah, he was
The
kind of
sad
going
part
off
for me
like
is-
Alex Jones for a minute there.
Okay, frogs.
Like I was just
The
hearing
fact
like a
that the
tirade
media-
of like all kinds of different information, and you kind of want to sit and process it, and like but I don't even remember what the last point was because I was fidgeting with my technology and shit. But
Sean, review.
Well,
Yeah.
the last point is the National Assembly is a goal, but we got to have goals for after the National Assembly as well. Don't let it, like when the Americans won their independence, don't just sit on it and think everything's fine. And we don't, liberty, the tree analogy is true. You have to groom a tree, you have to water the tree, you have to give it fresh soil, you have to give it sunlight. You can't neglect the tree of liberty. So we got to maintain ourselves. That too. That's a very potent nutrient.
That reminds me of that quote. I think it was Thomas Jefferson. The tree of liberty needs to be refreshed from time to time with the blood of tyrants. And that, I don't know, that always sticks in my mind.
And patriots.
And
Is that
patriots
part of the
alike.
quote?
Now,
Yes.
it is.
So, yeah, I think, blood of patriots, but that's going to create an even bigger well of the blood of tyrants if it works successfully.
Let me put it this way. For every tyrant, we probably would have to spill thousands of bloods of patriots because that's just how wars are. To get to the general, you got to go to the
And you know
sultan.
what? We've gone hundreds of years without doing that, and people have become so domesticated, and our whole population has just become so comfortable and complacent that we're at the point where it's like, okay, well, something bad is really going to happen because they are pushing their tyranny to 1,000% because they know we're so weak as a species, as a population, as a society, compared to what we used to be, compared to how people just think about it, man. Everyone's giving up their firearms. They're encouraging us to give up all our firearms. Like most of the population in America is saying, oh, you don't care about kids dying in schools from mass shootings? You need to give up all your firearms. And now it's just like the programming and the brainwashing and the indoctrination is so deep that people are just like, okay, well, we need to cower and just cater to all these authoritarian figures that say we need to give up our firearms to appease the masses. And that's why democracy is dangerous. That's why we weren't founded as a democracy, but a representative republic to begin with. And
Constitutional republic.
Yeah, a constitutional republic. People try to argue. You hear all this propaganda like, no, our democracy is a stake. Our democracy. It's not a democracy to begin with. It's a constitutional republic. And you can argue, I guess, that it's a democratic republic because you have representatives that you elect to, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a constitutional republic. And, you have all these like heavily populated states like California and New York that are trying to fucking do this mail-in voting now.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to rig the votes. You already know what they're going to do. They're going to rig all the votes. They already tried to do that in the midterm elections of 2018. And you remember in what state was it, Georgia or something, where they had Stacey Abrams and they had to recount all the votes, and the Republican electorate barely won, even after them rigging the votes and recounting the votes. I mean, they're trying to push this full-fledged tyranny forward with mail-in voting. Got to give up all your guns. I mean, it's getting crazy out there, man.
Well, I'd say one thing in opposition to that. You're making it sound like that most of the country is on the bad way. I would say maybe 3 out of 10 are in the bad way. I'd say there's, I wouldn't say it's that far gone because there's a lot of people. They don't call us the silent majority for nothing. So if I was to put it in big numbers, and generally in big numbers, I would say that right now it's probably about 75 to 80% versus their, you know, uh, uh, basically
Well,
being what's up.
so you're looking at probably the United States map where you look at the red and the blue.
That's only a small factor. I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I'm talking about population, the
Yeah,
population
yeah.
of America.
That's what I'm concerned about because they're so heavily populated in these big blue cities. We're talking about billions more people than in rural like midwestern city. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. Right now, there's a very big danger of the large cities, and we'll just call them states. I'm sure Sean would back me up on this. California and New York are the two main hot spots, and you could also throw in Chicago.
And Texas capital and
But yeah, it's
most of the
basically the
suburbs.
cities. But for the most part, New York and California have already been so deep entrenched with voter fraud. They own those two states.
Oh, yeah,
and they
for
did
sure.
it on purpose. They have been doing it on purpose. They've been wanting to flood in all these people so that they can get more people, more warm bodies, and distribute votes to them and say, you check it this way. Yes. But like you said, there are the places outside of the cities, and there's a lot of people out there and a lot more land out there. The cities are concentrated. They are cancer. They are going to fall because they're made on nothing but materialistic gatherings, really. So yeah, there is going to be a problem with them, and it's going to be a problem that we're going to have to take care of. But as far as them being overwhelming to us, no. We just haven't stood up all yet.
Yeah, I think the cities are definitely death traps. I mean, they're liberal hellhole, big blue city death crats run by these people. Like I was saying earlier, and I know you were watching Chase the Patriot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, top headline on Drudge: California getting a massive bailout. First state in the entire country to apply to the Federal Reserve for a giant, massive bailout due to coronavirus. And basically, dude, you have these giant, big blue liberal cities that have already run their entire states and cities into the ground through their liberal policies, their liberal, quote, liberal policies, you know, just democratic psychos like giving out free, quote, free stuff and making the taxpayers pay for it. And now all of a sudden they're saying that the federal government has to bail them out because coronavirus.
Yeah.
And because of their total lockdown tyranny and the fact that they want to extend these lockdowns and stuff. And it's like, so now the rest of the country, every taxpayer in the U.S. has to pay for California to be bailed out billions of dollars. Dude,
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, we got to put an end to this tyranny, and like, we're being completely fucking raped as a country.
That's the demonic. That's the demonic way.
Yeah, but it's up to Trump if he wants to sign that bill to say, okay, we're gonna bail out California. No, dude, just let them fucking demolish their own state, because a lot of other states are saying, no, we're gonna open up. We're not gonna do that. But you know what's gonna happen? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we're just gonna end up fronting the whole bill for California and probably New York. And it's like, when does it end? You know?
Well, you have to think about when it started first, because that's been that way for a while, and it's
been
the
that
only
way
thing
for a long
is
time.
yeah.
But
The only thing
now we all have to pay for it as a whole country, though.
we have been paying for it.
I mean, I'm just predicting the future, but maybe I'm wrong. But
May I?
Yeah, go for it.
Now, mind you, I might be a little bit biased because I am a California native.
Right.
I lived here all but 1 year of my life, where I lived in Utah, which I would at least say Utah seems to have their act together besides Mitt Romney. But That's a perfect example of a politician.
Romney sucks.
But that's a perfect example of a politician using an ignorant voting mass that trusted him because of the LDS faith, that, hey, they could put their faith in him. And what's his first thing he does? He tries to side with the Democrats to impeach a president that is like 95% popular amongst Mormons. Mormons don't approve of his philandering, but they always approve that, hey, Trump at least, is trying to embrace the GOP values. And the LDS Church has been lined up with the GOP for a long time. Now, in the case of California, which also was settled by a lot of Mormons amongst other pioneers, up until, let's see, under Bush, the first Bush, California, you had Nixon from out here. We had Reagan, both terms. We went over with Bush, and then it was just nobody wanted to do. Bush had 2 wars during his term, Panama and Kuwait, and he thought that was a surefire strategy. Americans don't want to be involved in Mideast oil wars. That was the protests that we had. I was in junior high in Utah at the time, and our protests in Utah matched the protests in California. People do not like our foreign policy with the Mideast. A lot of people around here have their various breeds. Be surprised how many Chihuahuas come out to greet me. So anyway, this issue, the state, until they started getting more refined at the voter fraud, we were voting red in most of the counties. Like Chase is from a diehard red county area. Where I'm at in Riverside County, we were voting red really until the last 2 election cycles. And now it's, more like a checkerboard of purple and red, blue, and purple. But the thing here is that we have colleges. The colleges are bringing young kids from other states. A lot of them fall into the liberal traps that are put out here in the LA, Hollywood, those social scenes. And then they start voting with like you can have a kid from UCR who comes here for agriculture. He goes to UC Irvine, which is a little bit more liberal. And he comes back to
Irvine.
Yeah, Irvine in Orange County. Orange County is diehard Republican. They get the professors, they get, indoctrinated into these liberal ideas, and then they wind up finishing up their classes in a conservative area, but now they're a liberal voter until someone snaps them out of it. So at least the good news is, when I have people around me in Riverside that are younger, like I said earlier, we can point to the chemtrail and get them back on the path. It's like there's a hip hop artist from the East Coast, really good, and a lot of people like him, and he's good for red pilling, Immortal Technique. But Immortal Technique will never quite pull the trigger. Yeah, Tech will never pull the trigger on Islam, or on the Palestinian issue, how it goes both ways. He'll never pull the trigger on socialism, because that will make him he'll lose a lot of record sales. That's the only way I could put it. He might be underground, but he still relies on record sales as well. So
I only knew a couple songs from that guy, Immortal Technique, Dance with the Devil. That was like one of his most famous songs.
Yeah, if you go to the Viper Records, his record label, you can download the Martyr for free still. It's like
I don't even listen to rap that much, but I knew that song.
Well, it's again what I call a red pill challenge. You listen to his songs, and you can take every term and lyric. You go Wikipedia at that to get the left wing take. You're like, wow, it's that bad, and the left admits to it. And then that's when you go to the right wing sources, and you see what augments or ties in with what the left is talking about on Wikipedia. Our problem with internet censorship is everything's getting memory hold. So people
the left
don't
has
remember.
Totally taken over Wikipedia, man. I definitely think they have a whole cabal where they go in and edit everything.
They do. I've seen stuff edited. I edited something on Mike Cernovich to correct it because he was right about an issue and they were trying to say he was wrong. I fixed it, and it corrected me 3 times in live time and said I was going to lose my Wikipedia functions if I.
They have a live team editing everything that any conservative or right wing person says. They edit it to fit a leftist narrative. They do that to Stefan Molyneux. They do. Apparently, they do that to Mike Cernovich too. I didn't know that, but
yeah, they do, especially to Cernovich. Cernovich does when he does something like he did with the Epstein case, or like he's doing with the Roger Stone case, Cernovich gets stuff done because you guys forget he's a lawyer.
No, yeah, he is definitely a lawyer. He initiated the whole Epstein case. Apparently, I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but based on what I listened to him say,
I donated the crowdsourcing early on that. I threw $10 his way because he was going to get something going. You didn't hear anything, and then a couple months later, he's rolling on it. So he collected that seed money, and then that's what he put it towards. And what it was is, Virginia Roberts, Guilfoyle, whatever her name is, drawing a blank.
Guilfoyle?
No, not that's the girlfriend of Trump's kid.
Yeah.
So many names to keep track of. Virginia Roberts, that's her name. Epstein's victim. She had a lawsuit with Ghislaine Maxwell, saying that Ghislaine had slandered her.
Oh, dude, her and Jeffrey Epstein are Mossad agents, by the way.
Oh, I get that, but here's the thing is, when you do court stuff, this is why Destry is right to caution us. When you do court things, you got to play the game a certain way. When Ghislaine Maxwell called Virginia Roberts a liar and slandered her, that allowed Virginia Roberts then to sue Ghislaine Maxwell and call for a bunch more witnesses and things like that. And one of the people is Alan Dershowitz. So Dershowitz is like, "Oh, I'm innocent. Leave me out of it," And what Cernovich did is like, "All right, Alan, if you're innocent, I'll join with you, and we'll both investigate together." And then they brought in the Miami Herald as like the third interested party. And you get it? So everybody wants to, try to clean up the mess, regardless of where they are on the angle. Now, Dershowitz, he's a slimy lawyer. He's been used by everybody from O.J. Simpson to Epstein, obviously, to even Trump at one time. So, by Dershowitz, trying to clear his name, we get access into more information. And all this stuff came back to the surface, showed that the Epstein case was mishandled, covered up by Robert Mueller's FBI at the time, because what's the name of the guy? It wasn't Dershowitz, but it was somebody else. He was the one who said that Epstein's intelligence, leave him alone. He was ordered to leave Epstein alone. It's the guy who gave Epstein, it's the lawyer or judge who gave Epstein the sweetheart deal. Now, if someone tells you the dude's intelligence, that opens the window. You need to get that particular guy that came out last year and made that quote. Okay, swear to tell the whole truth. Who told you he was intelligence? Once we have that answer, we know how that ball game goes. But no one's going to ask that guy who told you. See, that's what Congress does. The Senate does. The House of Representatives, they, like Trey Gowdy did with Hillary. They ask you half the question. They don't follow the line of questioning. That's how lawyers play the game. They won't follow the line of questioning unless you're paying them as your lawyer to go down that line of questioning to get the result you want. And you got to be careful, because you could be leading a witness to come to a conclusion by suggestively asking them questions that lead one way when it may not be the reality of the case. So backpedaling to my point earlier about California.
This guy,
California.
Oh yeah,
we can go red. We can go red again. We still got agriculture out here. We still got plenty of military out here. It's just getting our college kids to reverse the trend they've been on. It used to be in the 40s, 50s, 60s, California Republicans would goof on Democrats, and now, it's the other way around. And part of that is we didn't, as Republicans, for those who follow party labels, I'm just, I consider myself a small L libertarian. Californians that were conservative did not reach out to the upcoming generation of young Californians who are the Hispanic Californians. That's 40+% of our demographic. Doesn't matter whether their parents brought them over here as kids or they were born here in our hospitals. Either way, that's the current youth of today. If you lose out on 2 out of every 5 voters, that's an election you're going to lose. And then, you break it down, about another 20% is African American. Well, the good news is they're coming our way. We've kind of built, like I said, a rainbow coalition of conservatives. Kanye, he was a big deal. Oh, and before him, Candace Owens, that's a big deal. So that helps. Brandon Tatum and Diamond and Silk.
Brandon Tatum, man, I don't know about that guy, because I don't know. I'm skeptical of the whole police being
it's okay to be skeptical of that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
think there's a lag on my computer, but
there's a 3 to 5 second lag anyway.
I am lagging. I need to click on live. Okay. No, what I was saying though is, yeah, man, I'm a small government libertarian too. But then I'm looking at this in the chat. Nate Too Good said, "You know that Kim Guilfoyle is Newsom's ex-wife, Gavin Newsom from California?" And I just looked it up on my phone, and yeah, she was actually Donald Trump's son. His wife, his girlfriend, I guess, Kimberly Guilfoyle, was married to Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
How insane is that, dude? Oh my
Maybe
god,
she's looking for power.
that's so crazy. Like I would have
Nope.
never guessed that, and now I'm just like, what? What is going on with that? Yeah, Kimberly Guilfoyle. She used to be on Fox News a lot, and
Yeah.
she's like a
The
hardcore conservative. And she's, I guess, I don't know if she's married to Donald Trump Jr., but she's like unofficial. I think that's his fiance or something. But
Yeah, fiance.
married to Gavin Newsom, dude. How does that make sense if she's a hardcore conservative and he's this far left? Like, what is going on with that?
She's probably attracted to power. Power is sexy regardless of which side of the aisle it's on. Now, the flip side of Newsom is Newsom, to show you how incestuous this is, Newsom by marriage is Pelosi's nephew. And Pelosi is, Trump's rival.
Are you kidding me?
Not at all. Pelosi's family goes back to the Baltimore Mafia, which is East Coast. Trump, of course.
This is getting crazy, man. I cannot believe this shit. Are you kidding me?
Now, Trump helped the FBI take out the Jersey Mafia and the New York Mafia for his casinos in Jersey. So I'm sure he bumped into the Baltimore Mafia here and there, which also makes you wonder if Seth Rich was really MS-13 or if it was a mob hit. Because either way, that's Democrat interest being served with Seth Rich out of the picture. Yep. See, we get the Seth Rich thing solved, then we really win. This is, we can either use Anthony Weiner's laptop that was confiscated by NYPD, or we can use the DNC server involved with Seth Rich that has been confiscated by the Capitol Police, who usually tend to be real shady. They're the ones who covered up Vince Foster.
Oh yeah, they're all covering that shit up, man. The police are covering up. I mean, they're so corrupt in these big cities like New York and California.
Well, I'm hoping Giuliani pops too, because he knows what's up with NYPD at the very least. It's like Giuliani, if you want to think of the police as a mafia, Giuliani would be like a NYPD mafia don for their police. The flip side, though, is that if Giuliani comes out with what he knows, or anyone who has those servers, they come out with what they know, they're going to say it's a deep fake. They're not going to say that this politician was really at a party wearing body paint and doing this, or abusing a kid in the shower.
I've been saying that for years, that we start seeing more of these deep fakes where they're manipulating celebrity faces onto different celebrity faces. I've been saying for the past couple of years, they're going to start using that to where they can discredit any politician who has been involved in those kind of heinous crimes, and they can say, no, that's just a deep fake.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then at the same time, they can also frame anyone else they want to and say, no, it was this person or that person, and it wasn't the politician that was doing it, or it wasn't the CEO of whatever company that was lobbying for a politician to carry out some kind of, I don't know, vaccine-related injury program or whatnot.
If I may. Do you remember when they did Star Wars, the Rogue One? Everyone was all happy about Princess Leia's cameo.
I watched the very first new Star Wars, and ever since then, I have not watched a single one because they totally ruined it, man. And it's just leftist garbage at this point.
Rogue One is okay. Rogue One gets back to, like, it fits very well with the ending. The ending ties into Darth Vader when he's trying to capture Princess Leia. It goes all the way up to that. So Rogue One is worthwhile. Plus, there is a sense of sacrifice.
Was that the one that they released like several years ago? The very new one after the like prequels and shit?
It was the one they released they released it before the Han Solo film, which was a piece of garbage.
Yeah,
I don't watch all of them. I listen to the reviews, and I also listen to people who are conservative, their takes. And Rogue One at least had a good hero message, and yeah, you had a female lead, but it wasn't.
I think that was the one I saw. The very first new one they had with the female lead.
Both had female leads.
After that, I didn't watch any of them because I just knew it was just Marxist programming, brainwashing, basically. I mean, that's all Hollywood does, man. Have you seen the documentary Out of Shadows?
Yep.
Yep.
But
that's it, man. That's it. That's what they're doing. CIA, mind control, programming. It's all in Hollywood now. I mean,
the point of Rogue One, though, is that in the three new movies they made, with Kylo Ren and all this other nonsense, the female was super nerfed. Rogue One, the female who basically assembles a team, there's a strong male with her. It's kind of a 50-50 split. It's not as leftist, and the character isn't what they call Mary Sue with all these superpowers and stuff. She actually, she's not the best fighter of the team and everything. But Star Wars was supposed to also be intended by Lucas as a space western / samurai film. Hence the Jedi Knights, the Sith Lords, and all that.
The reason I stopped watching it was because I didn't want to ruin my childhood years from all the first few films that I watched that were just amazing.
Yeah, don't worry. I stopped after Phantom Menace. Jar Jar Binks killed the franchise for me, but someone paid for me to see Rogue One, so I'm like, all right, I'll watch it if you're paying for the ticket. Why not?
No, the prequels were good too, but I mean, Jar Jar Binks didn't kill it for me. The prequels were okay, but it's just the newer Marxist stuff where you can just tell it's complete propaganda. It's just like, oh my god, I can't watch it.
Well, Lucas used Phantom Menace, what have you. It was his response to 9/11. It was actually more middle of the road because they throw in the line, that everyone's applauding while their rights get taken away as Palpatine goes from being a senator to being the chancellor, whatever he was.
I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah. This is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause.
Yeah.
Well, George Lucas actually sold all the rights to Disney. Is that what happened?
Yep. He cashed out.
Why did he do that?
He's in New Zealand. He's bugged out.
Yeah, because he's old and decided to cash in.
Oh, that's so sad, man.
But here's the thing: they had to bring him back because these this new trilogy was so awful. They had to bring him back.
I'm sorry, man. I remember one clip though where he said that I told them how to direct it, and they just didn't listen to him. Disney said they would not follow what George Lucas said they wanted him to do with the Star Wars saga. So that's where I'm saying, Disney took it into their own hands, and they're just going to be like, okay, well, we're going to push the Marxist hardcore propaganda anyways, no matter what George Lucas said, even though he sold us the rights to Star Wars. So that shows you what Disney's all about. I mean,
I'll add to this, if I may, guys. Disney, it's one thing like to have Cobra or to have the villains under Skeletor, or in the case of Star Wars, the Empire. It's one thing to have them as the villain characters, but when you create entire marketing campaigns to sell not just action figures of the villains for kids to play with, but you're selling shirts and stuff, and then you're promoting it like, oh, the Sith are cool. I don't know if you guys have caught that online there's a whole subculture of people who now want to be the Sith.
Oh yeah,
there's nerds who think they're Sith Lords. And it's like the Sith, you're not supposed to aspire to be the Sith. We get that they come from emotion, and that sounds good, because they humanized Anakin so much. But Anakin went to the dark side. It was a long period of suffering as the servant of the Emperor until he gets redeemed and Return of the Jedi. Like a lot of the
children.
Yes, he commits that ultimate act of going to the dark side by killing the innocent.
Joker?
I have not seen the Joker. I've gotten different reviews on it.
I thought VEX said something about the Joker.
No, I said he had to kill the children. Remember?
Oh, the children.
Parallels.
Because I was thinking the Joker did he was innocent, but then Anakin Skywalker got turned over to the dark side.
Corruption. The issue with the Anakin Skywalker corruption with Star Wars is, because George Lucas is awake. You may or may not know that. I don't know whose side he's on, but he is awake to the process. The reason why Vader tries in Return of the Jedi to negotiate with Luke Skywalker and have him join him because he wants to establish a family hierarchy and unseat the Emperor. But that's not Luke's
There's
goal.
no way in hell George Lucas would have been able to create Star Wars unless he knew exactly what was going on in the world, because he extrapolated it to this whole universe.
Exactly. If you don't know how the world works, how are you going to create a universe with a world that the customer, the viewer, will relate to? Where I'm going with the scene with Vader throwing the Emperor down the shaft instead of, killing his son. One, the Emperor is willing to throw his best lieutenant, Vader, to the wolves to acquire Luke. That should tell you something right there about how politics are. When you're not useful, when you're an old broken down machine man on respirators, of course they're going to throw you to the side. So that should tell people to think about their future under an emperor.
Yeah, isn't that what they're doing in the hospitals when they're incentivizing people? $13,000 if you diagnose them with COVID-19, and then $39,000 if you put them on a ventilator, and then the people who don't even need the ventilator are getting put on ventilators and they're dying from having asphyxiation, basically.
Yes, medical malpractice.
And they're basically getting killed in hospitals right now due to the fact that hospitals are shut down. You cannot go in for an elective surgery. You cannot go in for any normal medical procedure. If you go in, the only reason you go in, the only reason to let you in is for COVID-19. So the hospitals are incentivized to let these people in, and the only way they're going to make money, it's like, oh yeah, we're a COVID business now. We're just going to take COVID patients. We're incentivized to do that. So they're basically putting people on ventilators and killing them so they can fucking make ends meet as a hospital and make the profits not even the amount of profits they used to make, just making ends meet as a hospital.
Think about this.
Fucked up, dude.
Think about this. Our hospitals are gone.
Yes. They used to start out hospitals with Sisters of Mercy, things like that. They were ran by monks and nuns with the church. Now, hospitals are corporations. They're part of the corporate state.
Yeah, it's so fucked up.
There's no more Sisters of Mercy because there's no mercy to be had in a corporation. People need to, get their heads out their ass on that one.
Some of the younger people don't actually realize that before all this, our healthcare was taken care of basically by donations. The hospitals were run from donations.
Charities, yeah.
Yeah, charities. And if nobody is refused from the emergency room, you're taken care of and you're billed later and stuff like that. That's the way it was before the demonic party started putting their hands all in it and turning it into a scientific experiment.
Well, that's also Rockefeller and Carnegie.
They get federal funding like crazy now for diagnosing people with COVID-19 just because they have a fever or a cough or a cold or a flu.
That's not all. That's not all. I mean, you could die from a heart attack. You still die, and it's still being labeled as COVID. So all the numbers keep getting jacked. All the heart attacks and stuff like that have plummeted since COVID started.
Exactly.
Imagine that.
They're replacing all that with COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Regular flu season deaths dropped off the charts. It's like, wait, everyone quit getting the flu?
We know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. They're fucking scamming us. And, and you can even see the CDC official webpage on May 1st, I think it was. They said, if you look at the exact charts they have laid out, it says 38,000 people, I think, died from COVID. And then the mainstream media is saying, 60,000 people have died from COVID. And it's like, not according to the CDC website. And isn't that the statistics they're going by? And then they're saying...
It gets even worse. CNN on that Chiron that they used, they had the deaths in the millions, while on the screen it said 200,000 globally. Meanwhile, they had 2.3 million deaths globally on the Chiron, and people watch the Chiron more because it moves, so it catches the eye. So CNN was trying to psyop the people and got caught with someone doing a screen capture on that one and circling each of those in their meme. So, yeah, we can't trust CNN at all. We already know that. Now the general public's waking up. You guys are asking what it's going to take. This is our opportunity of what it takes. Is the everybody's unmasking. We just got to use that. And
we're on Chase's show that the overall plan as far as Trump went was his first term was to shine a light on all corruption. Second term was to basically enact the people to clean it up.
Yeah, I've been hoping for that, man. Like, you know what? I realize the fact that Trump has kind of been caught in a fucking sandstorm of corruption, and maybe he didn't even realize it was this damn corrupt when he got into it. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And he's finally fucking realizing, oh my God, I didn't know it was this damn bad.
Well, he had an idea. He just didn't have the full extent of it because he was thinking that, if I push on them, they're going to push on me, no big deal. But no, it was, assassinate. Sean, you were going, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Sean was going to say something. I interrupted him.
Trump said that in press conferences. He didn't realize how bad it was because think about it. His own generals and his cabinets were keeping him from information and misleading him. If you guys don't know, for example, Stanley McChrystal, this was a news article I didn't put up on Chase, but I'm debating it. Stanley McChrystal is using leftist technology designed to target ISIS. He's turning that around on Twitter to target pro-President Trump tweets and to negate anything good for the president. So basically, McChrystal has been found tampering in an election already. So that's a general, Stanley McChrystal. He's a big, I believe he was a neocon, in fact.
Yeah.
So when Trump thinks the military is going to have his back because he was, raised rah by going to a military academy, he doesn't realize that these guys, the generals, the G.I. Joe comic used to have a group of political generals that would try to screw a G.I. Joe called the Jugglers. And they would have the Joes sometimes have to team up with Cobra because it suited their shadowy interests. And they also voted to disband G.I. Joe in the comic. That's Larry Hama as a veteran. Again, revelation of the method. He's letting the kids who are reading the comics know that you can't always trust the generals. You might be able to trust, Duke and Snake Eyes, but, don't trust the generals behind the scenes at the Pentagon.
Oh, yeah, man. They're so damn corrupt. They're so bought and paid for. And these people are total psychopaths, man. I mean,
it's worse than that. Michael Aquino, the Satan worshippers, Temple of Set.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Torturing people.
No, I know exactly. You ever listen to Mark Passio?
Name rings a bell.
He runs the website whatonearthishappening.com. He gets all into that, dude. He actually used to be like into that kind of shit, like a Satanist and shit.
Was he on Alex a couple days ago?
He was on Alex Jones a few times.
And that's why I heard of him. Yeah,
he was on there. I guess a week ago or so as well.
Yeah, I listened to that interview, and he was telling me things.
Oh no, he knows exactly what's going on, man. I highly suggest you look into that if you're interested in figuring out what's really going on behind the scenes, because these high positions of power all across, from military to intelligence to Pentagon, and I mean, we're dealing with actual Satanists and
Luciferians.
It's fucking bad, dude. These people literally want to enslave humanity. And
it's worse than that. They want to turn us to a cinder and then rule over what's left of the cinder.
There's a high cult that's actually, they're all working together to do this all globally. So, it's...
Yeah, they think they contacted Satan. They think they contacted Satan through another dimension.
Yep.
Through DMT. It's like, it sounds super crazy, but actually, when you start looking into it, the Nazis were super into the occult.
Yes, sir.
It goes way back, man, and
oh yeah, beginning of man back.
Oh yeah, the Egyptians.
Even further.
Yeah, it's like a literal Illuminati cult.
Yeah. But this is the thing: is
I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually a literal thing. Like, they've been passing this information down from centuries, and they've passed down the knowledge. Like, you look at Plato, right? The allegory of the cave. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the allegory of the cave, they said, okay, you have all these people down in a cave, and they're looking at projections on a wall with a guy behind them standing, projecting with a fire in front of the people chained down in the cave, looking at the wall, and all they see is shadows and projections of what is supposed reality. When in reality, there's a controller behind them, like projecting the shadows. And then the guy who's the controller behind them goes out on top of the cave, and he sees enlightenment. He sees, and they try to say this, oh no, this is just a metaphor for like attaining enlightenment and breaking out of the cave. But no, it's really a blueprint for how to enslave and control a society. And I mean, this is just information that's been passed down for centuries. And
Yes, it is.
you know, that's the way I see it. I don't.
If I may,
like some occult shit, really.
Go ahead, Sean.
if I may, because it gets worse. A lot of them, and it's kind of my thing. I'm into the blending of science with mysticism because there may be grounds for that. They believe they've contacted their Dark Lord, whatever you want to call it. Leo Zagami is also an expert on this, and he's done a lot of interviews with Alex lately because he's really dead on the occult topics and the Illuminati topics, especially with his background. But this is the thing. The AI, they believe that they can get their Dark Lord to interface with it. Now, if everybody has the chip, if everybody has interfaced with the AI, what does that mean the Dark Lord can do next?
Control.
Think about a computer that can yes, if it can hack you, it's Ghost in the Shell with Laughing Man times 10,000, times 100,000, then times 1,000,000. Literally a demonic virus. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Remember what happened to the swine when Christ cast the devils into the swine? The swine went suicidal and jumped off a cliff. So what if the globalists, the Satanists, can hack into that type of spirit? Doesn't even have to be Lucifer. It could be one of the subdemons. Drives all of humanity mad, and like in Kingsman, we all riot and kill each other, or we jump off cliffs like the pigs. You see why this is the battle. We have to stop this vaccine. We have to stop these chips. National Assembly, we form. We say President Trump, knock it off.
I can already tell you they are going to try to make the vaccines mandatory. I mean, they're already pushing for that.
They took away.
If they do that,
I'm in California. They took away religious exemption, bro. Trust me, I'm in ground zero.
I'm worried.
The reason I call you guys and call up to Chase is, Chase is behind enemy lines. I view myself as his southern frontier. The Inland Empire, we're all agriculture out here. The Indio Palm and Date Festival, for the Riverside County area. Orange County, orange. Hello, Riverside. We're known for several citrus brands with Sunkist. We used to have an orange blossom festival until moneyed interests broke up our civic community. And now we have a bunch of tiny, instead of having one big city fair, orange blossom festival, we now have a little itty bitty fair for each demographic throughout the year. It's ridiculous. That's how political.
Have you guys seen the Microsoft cryptocurrency mining system with the patent number W2020-060606?
Yes,
Yeah.
and they have ID 2020 connected to it.
Absolutely.
So this,
and then on top of that, you have the Rockefeller Foundation putting that paper out in 2010 called Lockstep, with the scenario where they basically outlined everything that's going on right now. They actually wrote it all out, said there's going to be a massive pandemic, a biological pandemic, a virus, and they basically said everything in that document that's happening right now.
This is to bring you up to speed because I don't even consider the Rockefeller. Yes, and you're gonna see, because it's all about centralizing and integrating everything together. That's part of the plan. You're gonna see how it's been brought up to the current. You're talking 2010, 10 years ago. I'm bringing you up to 2020 with the Rockefeller Foundation.
The Rockefeller Foundation got purchased by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation right at the time that Zika happened, and they bought all the mosquito research that Bill Gates
didn't know about that, but
yes.
I do know about Event 201, which happened literally 1 month before the coronavirus supposedly outbroke in China.
Yes, I was following that in the news. InfoWars was actually really ahead of the time, following everything going on in China with Event 201 and the various people putting in comments in the YouTube channels and stuff where you can't, if you get to General Shepard or Bart Fine and the random other outlets where we sneak around the ban. But the issue with Rockefeller Foundation being bought by Gates is that was the people who backed Planned Parenthood, which was Gates's dad, which means it's all incestuous. They're just laundering the money in a big circle.
Bill Gates, man. Bill Gates. He was the guy. Wasn't his father the guy who started Planned Parenthood or something like that?
William Gates Sr. Margaret Sanger's partner in that enterprise was William Gates Sr. He was Army OSS. He helped. He was in the predecessor to the CIA. He helped them. You also had Prescott Bush as their secretary. So the Bushes were in at the ground level for Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. They were part of the eugenics movement. I have Native American heritage, and the Native American tribes under eugenics, if you didn't want to speak English, they'd castrate you. They'd cut your hair off. So anyone wants to pull race card on me. It's why I get so pissed about the race angle. Yeah, I'm a pale skin. I'm half Irish, half Native. What do you want? I get in the sun, I turn red.
Oh, that's cool, man.
I don't tan. I turn red. I turn into a red man. So these freaks don't realize we're trying to tell them, hey, you know what? They've targeted the black community since Margaret Sanger came along, Now they're targeting and now they're targeting the Hispanic community, which is mainly through diabetes. If you go to Hispanic communities, all the food has high fructose corn syrup, and the Native American populace doesn't quite have as big a response. Their pancreas, as far as insulin production, is not quite the same as European or African Americans. And don't forget, we still are getting hit by diabetes as well. Yep. So diabetes is a really good, if you get someone diabetic, they're dependent for life.
You know what? A lot of people don't realize, though, that, there's two types of diabetes, right? Type 1, type 2. One of the types, you can actually wean yourself off of sugar and gradually taper off and just heal yourself. But instead, they want to pump you full of insulin and get you addicted to the pharmaceutical model by insulin. So, they don't even tell you that, if the medical industry was honest, they would say, no, it's just the fact that you have an imbalance of sugar and you just need to gradually taper off. And if you want to be healthy, just gradually taper off of it at a couple months at a time till you get to normal levels. And then it'll be fine. But they don't tell you that because they want to profit off the insulin.
Yeah. There's money in the disease, not the cure.
And I think Mike Adams talks about that a lot. I mean, I think he actually did that himself. So
let me get you going here for a moment, Killa and Vex, with the GNC side of the house and all that fancy highfalutin knowledge coming in, plus the years of the knowledge on top of that. Now we have a thing. You ever go to Mexico, or you go to a store and you order for the Mexican Coca-Cola out of the bottle? Or now there's also the classic Pepsi, where it's real cane sugar. Up until the 80s, sodas and a lot of these things were made with cane sugar. I'm explaining something. Sugar ain't good for you, but if you're going to go with sugar, get, pure cane sugar from Hawaii, CNH.
Not aspartame.
Well, I'm not hitting you with aspartame. I'm going to get into this is diabetes still. This is still the talking topic in this little minute of time. Yeah. Pure cane sugar, it bleaches through your system, takes your nutrients, but it goes through you fast and you flush it out. Well, CNH, their lobbying money from Hawaii wasn't as big as the lobbying money from the Iowa corn farmers who said, hey, let's use, and of course there are people who put them up to this, let's use high fructose corn syrup instead, where we squish the corn down and make basically
it's so bad for you, dude. Yeah.
High fructose corn syrup replaced all the sugar in the fast food chain sodas as we became a fast food nation. And next thing you know, in the 80s, that's when the diabetic boom started happening. By early 90s, you start hearing about type 2 diabetes everywhere, because during the 80s was a transition period. The farmers in Iowa, they love it. They sell all this corn that gets mashed up and made into a syrup.
High fructose corn syrup in everything nowadays, dude.
Exactly. unless you specifically try to cook a recipe that calls strictly for sugar, the default is they use high fructose corn syrup. And the issue with that is it's so gunky, it stays in your body. It doesn't flush through. So when it hits your liver and kidneys, it's sitting there for days, just breaking down, just like breads do, where they sit in your intestinal tract and you absorb more calories from breads than, say, from a vegetable as roughage. It just gets crapped right out. So by them shifting, it was a way of getting cheap calories so people are energized, like when you spike your coffee with a little extra sugar for extra pep in your step. Well, they totally rewrote the game by giving us a really big hyper sugar rush, but unfortunately it doesn't flush out. It lingers. And next thing you know, your body, your insulin is all out of whack. And there you go. We have that, and people having hypertension, high heart pressure, blood pressure, because of all the salt. McDonald's is known for this, added to the French fries. So you see, they knew that, hey, they'll make food that, because our taste buds work this way, we get addicted to it. And, again, having worked at Rite Aid, I can say these stores that are drugstores.
Specifically design it to be addicting, man. Yeah.
But they design it as a business model. If you go to a drugstore today, it is from the cradle with diapers and baby food to the grave. And how do you get to that grave? Guess what? They sell you the liquor and the cigarettes and the sweets at the counter right at eye level at a kid. So, it's marketed to even kids. Joe Camel in the 80s was a big commercial. They banned the cartoon mascots for cigarettes. Good for them. But you get into these vices and things. Okay, now you need medicine. Well, guess what? You're in the pharmacy anyway. You go to the back, get your prescription, and then those prescriptions are what send you to the grave. And you go over to the greeting card department and get the condolences card. Sorry for your loss. It's cradle to grave capitalism. So the trick is, we know the playbook again, guys. Don't fall for the playbook. If you can, I get Bang energy drink not because I need the caffeine. They actually pack less stuff in it because the founder, he's into health foods. People were calling him a nut. Monster energy drink. It's Coca-Cola. Ran a whole smear campaign against him because he's the guy who created the Red Line caffeine shots. Which is just straight. It's an energy drink, but without all the bubbles and carbonation and water added. And I'm looking at this. Normally, an energy drink on the can will say it's 2 servings and it has your milligrams on it. And they maxed out everything, or they give you more than you can handle. Bang reduced the amount of these minerals and supplements. So your body doesn't overdose on it. You don't get all hyper, and they don't use any sugar. They use, I think they use sucralose, which is similar to aspartame, but maybe double check that. I don't want to be accused of false reporting, right? Natural flavors, that's always good. Sodium benzoate, that's a preservative, of course. Yeah, sucralose is what they use. So sucralose is not as bad for you straight up aspartame. But, it's an organic energy drink / lower. This is the thing. When people actually take 5 minutes to read their ingredients and go look them up online and be like, oh, hey, this ingredient does this to you. This ingredient does that. Well, take a look at a lot of our stuff. The New World Order knows that we're lazy. We're not going to be taking that extra 30 seconds to read. People don't like to read. There's a joke.
I like to read. I don't know about you. But
oh, I do. I admit I'm a tremendous nerd, but there's a joke.
I'm just saying.
There's a joke. There's 2 things people don't like. There's 2 things people don't like: the truth and poetry. So, in our case, we got to get ourselves healthy too as a political body. Mike Adams does stress this, and he's right about this. If patriots are, there's this stereotype of patriots being these fat slobs at Walmart that every 4th of July are taking the golf cart around the Walmart with their ass hanging out the pants. I've never had my ass ever hang out my pants, even when I'm heavier. I've gotten up to 220 pounds at my size.
That's just
but that was,
fucking CNN Don Lemon propaganda, man.
So how do you counter the propaganda? Be opposite the propaganda. Be fit, be healthy. Don't be the diabetic guy who needs the state hospital to live, because then they're going to say, oh, well, you don't like socialism, but how does it work for you now? You'd be like, bitch, I don't need socialism because I'm running the track every morning. How about you? You gotta think. You gotta have the counter argument in your holster. Like the thing that's got me jazzed with right now, we have this big opportunity with this virus to get people to wake up. It doesn't mean they're not going to get sick, but we can actually wake them up.
If they don't wake up by now, that's why I'm saying. Like, I don't think that's what I'm saying, man. If people aren't awake by now and seeing everything that's obviously going on, I mean, do we really have much hope? And it's like people are saying to me, "Oh, wow, you're a provocateur." It's like, no, I'm trying to be honest. Like, I'm very concerned about this because most of the population is encouraging this lockdown and saying, we're going to snitch on you if you're not social distancing and wearing a mask and all this shit. And it's like, holy shit, dude. Like, we're living in 1984. No, we're living in Brave New World, George Orwell. Or not George Orwell, Aldous Huxley.
To follow up with what Huxley said in Brave New World Revisited in his talks at colleges, he said that the world of the future, the world will be both 1984 for the government and Brave New World for the civilians.
Yeah,
where they'll keep the people all
the prequel or the prologue to the when he re-released that novel.
And so, that's what we're in.
Yeah.
It's a sex culture of MTV degenerates. You know, I admit I like my Playboy magazines like any guy does, but the thing is I don't live and die because, oh my gosh, you know, this celebrity showed her boobs on the internet. It's like, but they got so many people wrapped up in that. They're like, meanwhile, behind the scenes, it's like, yeah, this celebrity showed her boobs on the internet.
Huxley and Thomas Huxley, was it his father, Thomas Huxley? He basically laid all this out, and they knew exactly what the eugenicist global program was, and he just basically gave a whole blueprint of what it was in that novel. And if you read the novel, it's all right there. That's exactly what they're doing right now.
From Malthus to Dalton to Huxley, I'm completely aware of the trail of thought. But where I'm going with what we got, you know, people might think you were a provocateur because, or at least a pessimist, because you're saying you don't think you can wake them up. We can still wake people up, but here's the thing: I'm approaching it from a military mindset. If we can't wake them up, they're dead. Let them bury themselves.
No,
I've been given the scenario, and as you know, a corporal studying for the NCO course, I never got to attend. My contract ran out, but hey, I got all the training. And what you have to do, for example, in a military mindset, not just triage, but okay, I have an enemy and I know he's out there in the bush, but he's not going to show himself. So I got to send a patrol to go patrol his perimeter to make him pop out. Odds are my patrol's dead. You know, I'm going to send guys then to intercept the dudes who pop out. But that first patrol I send out, they're dead. Don't count on them living. If they survive the initial contact, great, good for them. That means they're tough guys. Usually you would send, you had two choices. You could send your slackers out, they'd screw up and get slaughtered, or you send your badasses out and you don't even need to send help to rescue them because they found the enemy and killed it themselves. You know, this was especially true during the Vietnam War. The civilians that are out there, they're potential soldiers. They could be the sleepy, lazy, Beetle Bailey, don't want to do nothing, you know, want to get scratched on the leg and go home with a Purple Heart. And they don't want nothing to do with it. That's most people. Most people want that lazy, average life. They don't want to get involved. They want to be left alone. The reason I'm involved is because I know they're not going to leave us alone. I want to be left alone. But I've seen over the years, you know, that I'm sorry, every day there's something new messing with whatever comfortable lifestyle I have. You know, whether it's I got to pay a tax for this or I have to jump through hoops for that. Like if I want to wrestle in a certain state, I have to get a physical plus a clearance with a state athletic commission. But wait, I'm an entertainer. Why do I need to be in shape, you know, like an amateur wrestler? I did amateur wrestling too. I get the point.
The thing is, this whole Leviathan, you remember John Locke wrote about a Leviathan government?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we basically have this beast system that is, this is why I'm so limited government, like basically constitutional libertarian, because anytime you expand government power over centuries, it always leads to this point of absolute tyranny. It's inevitable every single time, man. And it's always going to lead to a point where there's either going to be massive death or people are going to rebel and say no more. And we're not going to put up with this. And that's basically where we're at right now, in my view, is like, you know, we started as a fucking great country, and we had limited government, we had our individual rights, and ever since then, for the past couple hundred years, they've just been slowly eroded and taken away to the point where we're like, okay, we basically have no freedoms anymore, no liberties. Are we still going to support this system and keep voting for this giant system to keep expanding government power and stealing more of our rights? Or are we going to fucking take back our freedoms? And that's a hard thing to reconcile with for a lot of people. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how to progress from there.
I have a different take on it that'll give you an answer, and it ties into a theologian thing of what immortality is. You know, why all of our cultures are against. We referenced Star Wars earlier. Why people are against killing the little kids and crosses of evil. You may not have any hope for your fellow man, but if hippies for Trump was
you can't wake them up, man. You can't. They're so indoctrinated and brainwashed.
Hippies for Trump will get what I'm about to say, because he's a father. This is the point of fatherhood. It carries your DNA into the future. Fatherhood is your real immortality. I'm getting into some esoteric thought here. It's something also the globalists believe. This is why the final test, for example, for Darth Vader, whether he was good or evil, was he going to sacrifice his son to the emperor? Would Luke sacrifice his father to the emperor? If you will abandon your own family and say, I give up, my own family can go into the abyss.
Well, what if your family abused you from birth
and then you're in the rabbit hole that I was in?
Raped you and treated you like shit.
Okay. You know, the reason I followed the Epstein thing is because I had a different thing where my mother falsely accused my father, and the social worker didn't want to believe a single thing I had to say because I was with my sisters 24/7. The way we were raised would be like a little group of ducks, you know, where I'm the big brother and my little sisters are in tow. I never left my sisters alone. My mother accused my father of that, yet he never had a minute alone with my sisters. I'm not repressing any memories, nothing like that. The reason is my mother was the liberal leftist welfare queen, the nightmare of the 80s. If you ever watched the movie $1 Million Baby with the fat mother for Hilary Swank, and Hilary Swank's the boxer, I'm like the male version of Hilary Swank as a wrestler with a fat mother who hates that I'm, you know, taking up a sport to try to get out of poverty. Long story short, you know, are you going to give up your legacy, your potential into the future because all of the rest of mankind is worthless? No, you're going to scratch and claw your way. Or if you want to give up with them, then you got to look that kid in the eye. You got to look baby Luke Skywalker, or, you know, or if you're Vader, you got to look at your son, be like, all right, you know, son, you can kill me now. You know, it's pointless. Nah, that's what the despair that comes with this knowledge is a heavy cross to carry, you know, to use a Christian analogy. But, you know, even that's also why we have a community.
No, I'm fighting to the end, man. I'm fighting to the end. I get what you're saying. I'm fighting to the end, but
Christ stumbles under his cross. I'm not even telling you as a Christian. Remember, I'm an atheist with kind of a scientific view of the supernatural world. Christ stumbles under his cross, and Simon comes and helps him carry it. And he's just a random dude. He's like, dude, this is messed up. This guy needs help. You know, they told him to do it, but you notice he doesn't fight back or anything. He goes and he does it. So you could be the most popular personality of all history, and even then you need help carrying forward. And if you look at from the pagan Roman Satanist way, Christ didn't win, ha ha ha, we killed him on the cross, he's dead. Even if the flesh is dead, the concept, the template, what we call the spirit, like at Marine Corps, all the Marines who have fallen live forward in the next Marines, the esprit de corps, well, the esprit de Christ. The spirit of life goes on because the message goes on. People go on in the future. The question is, are we going to go on to a hell, or are we going to go into a heaven? It's our job to try to stop those who are dedicated to hell from turning this paradise we call earth into their kingdom that they want. We can make this a heaven or a hell. You know, that's a lot of people who are in church. They don't like that. Oh, the world isn't what you make it. God will save you in the afterlife. No. The immortality is your DNA going on.
You know what? You made a good point there, man. Because I often see this view from Christians where they say, "Oh, just don't worry, God will take care of it all. Just sit back, don't do anything. God will take care of it. Don't even worry about it." And it's like, well, no. If we don't do anything, they're just going to totally enslave us and there's going to be rampant tyranny if we just sit by and say, no, we'll just let God take care of it. You know what I mean?
God doesn't want people to sit on their hands. God wants you to do for yourself.
Yeah, I'm just talking about what I see on the internet
Right.
a lot of the time from Christians. They say that all the time, man, and I'm just like, no, we need to actually do something. I don't think if God, I don't think he would just want us to sit there and not do anything. I think, but I see that mentality all the time being perpetuated, and I'm just like, no, that's not the way to deal with all this shit.
They misquote, render unto Caesar for that reason. Again, they want to be left alone in their little bubble of, go to church on Sunday, but they don't put forward the kingdom Monday through Saturday,
and
pushing.
Now they won't even let you go to church.
Exactly. That's when I was like, okay, they just took away the Constitution as we know it. When you're giving out 150,000 Ramadan dinners in New York for the Muslims, but you're telling the Christians they can't have Easter. No offense to Muslims. Like I said, I like my halal food, but I don't play favorites. As an atheist, I don't get to do that.
Oh yeah, and Google took Easter off the calendar.
The pictures. Mm-hmm. Google's done that to Christmas and everything else too. And now they call them winter festivals. Aldi store where
that's so fucked up.
Paul Joseph Watson out of England, he reports that the Aldi chain that's now in California, they have winter solstice cards or winter celebration cards. They don't even give out Christmas cards in their card department. Yeah, they changed the name of it. Now Aldi is basically the Walmart of Europe. So that they're in California has me worried because who are they going to gobble up, or who are they going to absorb next? They're going worldwide.
All right,
so
guys.
We got basically,
sorry.
Ahead,
I'm sorry, Sean, but I got to break in because I don't know how much StreamYard I got left, and I was very close to going out, before I started this. So I'm going to have to go ahead and end the broadcast. Go ahead and do some closing arguments, or or actually, parting thoughts. Killa, go ahead and.
Man, that was some fire. I think Sean was on something there. Makes sense to me. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it this way. As a community of patriots, truthers, info warriors, whatever labels you want to use us, we're all Simon helping carry the cross of liberty forward, or the message and the concepts of humanity's dignity and freedom. No more people have been lifted out of poverty than by the system that we have created in the United States. If we have it collapse, we can reorganize it. That's why I like President Trump. He knows how to deal with bankruptcy. He knows how to deal with a lot of games. Like the gimmick with California, you mentioned earlier, and I wasn't able to address it. California collapses because of its role in our economy. We're in one of the top 10 economies globally until this Newsom and company screwed up our books. We cannot afford financial collapses just because of what we're seeing with the impoverished of the world. But if we restructure and come out swinging, then the world's going to come out swinging with us. We can look at it two ways, that either we're going to submit or we're going to fight these guys, but we're going to win in a different way. They expect us to use violence, and they expect us to use, ill intent, evil emotions. Trust me, as somebody who taps into that when I'm in a ring, I know what they're going for, because I'm feeling, it's called working. You can't work a worker. As a wrestler, I know when a work is being done. I know the BS they're throwing at me because I know I'm emotionally getting wrapped up in it. But I'm like, you know what? I've seen this playbook. I've seen this game 43 years on this planet. And I have the knowledge of previous people who came before me who said, hey, when they try this playbook, this is what we can do. So, keep the community. We can all have our little disagreements about, whether Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Alex Jones, Candace Owens, whatever personality, we can have our disagreements about them. But we all agree on our Constitution. We also agree on understanding that the corporation of the United States overrode our Constitution in 1871, which it had no right to. And we also know that if we don't get this boat corrected, it's going to hit some really big icebergs. It's going to go like the Titanic. Or if we do it right, we just might dodge a couple of those icebergs. Other countries, if they want to keep hitting the icebergs, we can't tow them with us. But there it's the speech that Ronald Reagan was told by a guy who fled from Cuba to America. You know, people flee to America because there's nowhere left to flee to anymore. We're it, guys. So I hope your resolve will be stronger in the days to come. I hope that StreamYard will start giving us more minutes as we, you know, speak here, because this message of, hey, promote America. Well, if you're a company in America, you should want to promote America. It means you'll go on too into the future. Your company, your business will be immortal. You know, Wendy's didn't think they were going to be immortal when they first started out. Carl's Jr. didn't think they were going to be immortal. Even Coca-Cola out of Atlanta, or 7-Up out of Plano, Texas, you know, backyard of InfoWars. All these different brand names, they all started with a family and a business. Naturally, they grew, they got corrupted, just like our country's government. It grew, it got corrupted. Well, we can prune it, and we can prune it in a way without chopping the branches off. We just take a little leaf here and a little leaf there, and eventually, like a bonsai tree, we'll get that little bald eagle flying again, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to bow out here because my analogies are getting a little corny. Plus, it's also 5 till the hour. Take care, guys.
Thank you very much, Sean. I'm going to make Sean my new sidekick. Every time I go live, you got to come on, Sean.
I'll try.
Excellent. I want to thank everybody for participating in the stream. I really appreciate talking with everybody and hashing out ideas and getting corrected. I like that. I wanted to wish everybody a good night and sweet dreams.
We see you there. RWAP, you have a good one too. 100% RWAP checking in.
Right on.
Or is it, how do you say that? RWAP? Because that sounds like yeah.
RWAP.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to make it sound Italian. People will get mad at me.
All right. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and shut her down. Everybody, sweet dreams.
Peace.